Alright guys, you have just listened to Death Train by Chaos Bleak, and we are joined today by the legendary Trevor Bamford from Nightbreed Recordings, and I have far too many bands to list to get this correct.
Yes, that's me.
Let's list it off. We have Desolation, Urban Desolation, Every New Dead Ghost, Midnight Configuration, Brother Orchid, Arcane, Winter, Death Party UK, the Angelfire Project, and currently Chaos Bleak. Is Angelfire Project still going?
Yeah, it's just the thing is Chaos Bleak is so busy at the moment. I mean, I've actually got a whole album in the can for Angelfire Project. It's been ready for about 18 months. But because Chaos Bleak is just so busy at the moment, we're just doing so much that it's just taking up all my time. Plus, you know, I'm doing other things as well, and it just there's not enough hours in the day really to finish. I do want to finish it off because it's a very different side of what I can do, but it's just a moment. Yeah, at some point.
Yeah, very like ethereal meets dark wave kind of thing. But it's not...
I always refer to it as prog goth.
Yeah.
The shortest song's 7 minutes. I mean, so it was an exercise in playing slow because a lot of the stuff that I do is actually quite fast and quite frenetic. But somebody actually said, "Why don't you do something slow?" And I said, "You know what? I will." so I set up the Angel, and also because I actually do like a lot of prog as well. And so it was just a chance for me to exercise my sort of, you know, 70s prog influences as well as everything else.
So it's kind of, hey Pink Floyd, I've stolen your flavour and I'm not giving it back.
But I've painted it black.
Hey.
Ah.
So what are...
So you could call it Black Floyd, really. But it's sort of...
Another black on the wall.
Yeah, but yeah, basically the idea behind the the Angelfire Project was I just wanted to write something that just would allow me to go in different directions to other stuff I do. Like I say, I grew up with a lot of prog as well as everything else, so I just wanted to exercise that particular thing, and I'm quite pleased with what I did actually. And also with the Angelfire Project, I'll never play live with it. It'll only ever be a studio project. But I mean, I've actually got a name for the album. It's called Through a Glass Darkly. But I've just not got the album's done. You know, it's just sort of because Chaos Bleak is just exploding in every single different direction.
Yeah.
And we're busy working on album number 3 for Chaos Bleak at the moment, and the plan is to try and get the album out for Christmas. But we've got most of it done. But with Chaos Bleak this year, we've had a few knockbacks, so we're a little bit further behind where we'd like to be, but we're on track now, hopefully.
Well, you just played Whitby, so
we have indeed, yeah. I mean, we've got several gigs planned this year. You know, I can't remember all off the top of my head all the ones we're doing, but I know that we're going to be playing Bats in the Attic, which is very much sort of the underground's answer to Whitby, because Whitby is becoming extremely commodified now, and yeah, it's got good elements to it, but there's too many daft people wandering around in cosplay outfits. Really,
oh boy, we could talk forever about that.
Oh mate, you haven't been. Mate, when you see somebody walking around like a giant Rice Krispie, right, you think this is not how Whitby started. Now obviously I wasn't involved in the absolute beginning of the Whitby Festival, just in the bass player from Chaos Bleak, who used to be in 13 Candles.
Oh wow.
Their band 13 Candles played the very first ever Whitby. And so Justin's got a lot of skin in the game with Whitby, and I've not got so much, but I mean I remember that the whole idea behind Whitby was that goth was marginalised by mainstream society and mainstream organisations. So effectively Joe Hampshire created a festival that was for us. You know, it was basically because we were being pushed, people taking the piss out of us in the street and everything else, and you know, is it Halloween already? Ha ha ha, and all that kind of stuff. But Joe Hampshire created a festival, and the focus of it was for the scene, for the underground side of the scene, and to help us continue with our culture, which was being marginalised by mainstream commoditative forces. And this is basically not Whitby specifically, but the subject of my thesis was about the UK goth scene in the 90s and how, you know, really the scene as we know it today, in my opinion, is founded on the cultural work that was done in the 1990s, not just by myself, by many, many different people. you know. And I think that if it wasn't for the cultural work, what we call the resistant work that was done in the 1990s, the goth scene now would not exist at all.
Yeah.
And I think that where we are with goth is that there's this concept in sociology called recuperation. And just so I get this out of the way so everybody knows, is I'm actually doing a PhD in sociology, specializing on the 90s goth scene. And obviously I think that, my own experience and of being involved, but also being, knowing people and everything else, and being somebody who contributed to the scene. And my view is that the 80s scene was fantastic. It was wonderful, great bands, don't get me wrong, but it was actually the foundation of goth. Goth really started in the 90s when we said, you know what, Mr. Mainstream businessman, we're not quite ready to go just yet, so we're going to create our own scene. Thank you very much. And Whitby was part of that whole resistance, but obviously there's this concept of recuperation where mainstream forces constantly try to simplify something like goth, de-incendiarize it, make it not rebellious, and then sell it back to mainstream society and the scene itself. The idea behind recuperation is you gradually erase it by making it more and more how can I put this, less threatening. Sorry?
They water it down.
Yes, mate. To water it down to the point where it is no longer any kind of threat to capitalist-based organisations that are only interested in, shall we say, encouraging various music-based cultures so that they can turn it into a commodity that they can sell, then sell it back to the scene. And when they're bored of that, they can then, to water it down, destroy it, so they can then create a new culture, that they can commodify. But goth was different, gentlemen. It said we're not quite ready to go just yet. And, we set our stall out as a scene. And the reason why the scene still exists now is because the cultural foundations were set by the scene itself. And I was part of that. But there are so many people that were, who I'd say contributed. Now, what I say to a lot of people, I'm primarily talking about the UK scene, but the same can cascade through to different scenes throughout the world, is we said, no, we're not ready to go. This is our culture. And so the bands of the 90s, which at the moment we are undergoing another wave of recuperation, where the 90s bands and their cultural and aesthetic contributions are trying to be pushed aside, where people go on and on and on about the legacy bands. Nothing wrong with them, I like them myself. But the legacy bands were 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It's really, it's like kind of, it's time to move on. Anyway, sorry, I'm hogging the limelight. Sorry, gentlemen.
As I say, the club scene in the UK is so obsessed with the 80s, 90s. Like, how Bela Lugosi's Shed is ending?
Yeah.
I'm taking over the Sal to kind of replace.
Excellent.
And I'm trying.
I mean, I think that you have to play to the audience up to a point. I do agree with that. But sorry, Rudy, I'm interrupting you.
Sorry. You're
taking over the. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's already Spellbound. Well, the joke with Spellbound is there's other Spellbounds in the UK. There's like 5 different clubs called Spellbound. 2 of them being the same.
Yeah.
Leicester and Notts. But I'm gonna do that because I want to keep free goth nights in Nottingham.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I don't name my nights after song titles.
But I'm terrified of playing new stuff because I'm worried that they're going to just not know it or hate it.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So one of the things about being... firstly, I'm friends with the guys from Spellbound. I've known them since the 80s. So even though they do focus on the 80s mainstream sort of bands, for the reason you've just said, Dean, a lot of DJs find that they have to keep the floor busy.
Mm.
And I think that, the mark of a good DJ, and I've always said this, is that the DJ's role is to be didactic, effectively to teach people.
Yes.
So yes, you play the crowd pleasers. No wrong with that. That's all good. It's part of our legacy. It's part of our history. But slowly introduce new material at the start of the night, and then over a period of months or weeks or whatever, you start to creep the newer material into the mainstream slot, and you'll be surprised that how quickly you can actually do that. I mean, I used to be a DJ myself, and I don't do it anymore just because, for the same reason as you said, Dean, it's just annoying having to keep on playing the same old, no disrespect to Susie and the Banshees and all that kind of stuff, but playing all their, dance floor stuff. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Killing Joke, and I actually think what they did recently, over the last 10 years, is better than what they did in the 80s. I mean, Love Like Blood, whenever that comes on, I always skip it because I've heard it so many damn times. But you obviously have to keep people happy. But that's the trick, you've got to kind of keep the old sort of the old guard happy, and then you've got the younger generation, certainly in Nottingham, Dean, which you'll know. You've got the younger generation that have come into goth via the legacy bands because of their much larger digital footprint, which it was put in place due to the fact that really back in the 80s bands were signed to mainstream labels. Mainstream labels chucked hundreds of thousands of pounds at these bands to promote them, created videos, paid for promotion, paid for interviews. So what happened is they left a much bigger digital footprint than the bands in the 90s.
Yep.
And so obviously their footprint has gone through the digital ether, and the younger generation have picked up on all the mainstream bands. I'm not going to mention them now. We know all are, because they've found the videos and have got into them from that. Now, the problem we've got now, which is ironic really, because what you've got this younger generation that only want to hear 80s stuff, which is weird. Whereas it's the opposite of how it should be. It should be younger generation. We should be pushing the old guard aside, saying, "Hey, you old fogies, listen to this new goth stuff," but they're not.
Yes,
which is weird. It's completely against what is perceived to be the cultural norms of musical evolution. But with that said, I think this goes back to the DJ, Dean, because DJs are important because they can literally start to break new bands. I mean, God, so many. Obviously, I spoke to Mick Mercer, a while back, and he believes that actually goth is now in its heyday.
Wow!
Because there's so much good material coming out all over the world, but it's all tied to its physical location and country. Basically, it's parochial, really, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but that is actually what's happened to it because of a million different reasons.
So the 80s is more the copper age, the 90s is the silver age, and now it's the...
I don't know. I couldn't give it. I mean, obviously, I don't know whether Mick would agree with that, but Mick certainly thinks that now is the best time, purely and simply because of the amount of music coming out, which is authentic, real, is of the community and of the scene. And it's good because now technology, obviously part of my thesis is about one of the reasons why goth survived is because goth very quickly embraced technology. Even if you go back to the 80s, bands like Alien Sex Fiend were using technology that they could get hold of at the time to create music, which is one of the traits of being human, is that to be human, we use whatever tools we can find around ourselves to make a better life for ourselves, which would include making music. So goth has always been very good at using tools. Loads of goths, as we know, are very, very up on technology and always have been. There's loads of jokes about if somebody let a bomb off in Whitby during the heyday of the Whitby weekend, the internet would go down overnight because loads of people that were involved with sort of coding and everything else would all be there.
I know one of the people who coded for it. He was in the pavilion. That's how the story I got onto this interview. I was doing a load of research into NetGoth UK.
All right, excellent. Yeah.
I was looking through everything a few years ago, and I kept linking back to Nightbreed. And I went onto Nightbreed's site and I was like, I know this, I've seen this before. And it was like, I saw the Nightbreed logo and it had been years since I'd seen it. I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
It was like...
It's been 20 odd years since I closed the shop in the mail order service. It's about 20 odd years, so it's a long time. Obviously for me, that's not that long ago. That was just, seemed to be last week. But obviously young people, they won't even know anything about Nightbreed, not really.
This is the funny thing is, I was speaking to Joe about Nightbreed a while ago, and he went, "Oh, Trev's on my Facebook," and I'm like, I've been in the same room as this guy multiple times and not know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because one of the things Nightbreed Nottingham.
Yeah,
that's where I live.
To my other point, it's like this archaeology I'm doing of Goth in '90s, and to what I was going to ask with your thesis, are you going to mention Nottingham as, in my opinion, from my research I've done, Nottingham should be seen as the '90s Leeds?
Yes, I am. I mean, obviously, I think that the spiritual home of Goth is Leeds, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Always has been, and the Leeds scene is fantastic. It's really good even now. But I think that with the '90s scene, I think Nottingham was definitely the epicenter of the new Goth scene as it was then. I mean, back in the '90s, Nottingham was absolutely happening. It really was. I mean, at the time, we just accepted it. We didn't. But looking back on it, you're thinking, wow, it really was something. And it's a case of you only know what you've lost when you look back on it, you know?
Yeah.
I know that sigh. I mean, I mean, in my thesis, there's lots of different points I'm making. I mean, I've written it. I'm just going through, editing it and whatever else, making it fit for academic consumption. But there's several points, and one of them is that really, oh God, I don't want to get into this because I'll be here all night. But basically, I talk about one of the things when I was doing my research into the '90s scene, and I'm just keeping to that because otherwise I really would be a massive tome. Is that really it's about north and south in the UK. Now, people not from England probably won't understand about the north-south divide, but I was quite surprised that was such a strong thing. And also, it's a class divide as well, I think, between working class and middle class, and I think that, you know, really all of those particular tensions, I think, helped to shape the UK goth scene. And I think that Nightbreed was definitely, and Nottingham was definitely where the epicenter of goth in the '90s. And I'm going to mention it, but I'm also going to say Birmingham. There was kind of a lot of people in Birmingham that did a great deal of good work. There's a lot of people in Manchester did a lot of good work, and Sheffield and London. Let's not forget London. I mean, London, our capital of our country.
No one will let us forget London.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a lot of people that were very active in the London scene, and so I think that really, I would say, yeah, Nottingham was the epicenter. But I think that there's lots of areas of cultural excellence, and my whole view on what happened in the '90s is that we all made our contribution, all of us. People who ran fanzines, people who were DJs, people that were in bands, people that ran record stores like myself and Andy from Resurrection in London, and we all are people who ran small nights in little tiny villages all around the country. We all made a contribution. You know, people who were journalists, and there's a handful of us.
The people that turned up.
Yeah, people that turned up, people that showed up. Yeah, I think that really the '90s scene in the UK was a scene that we made. That's what there's many points I'm making, but for me, one of the reasons why I'm writing this thesis is that I want what we call in sociology the folk voice, i.e. all of us contributed to the folk voice to be heard. Mm-hmm. And, you know, obviously I couldn't interview everybody. I think I interviewed about 10 people. Otherwise, God, it wouldn't have been just a thesis. It would have been like a dictionary, you know, it would have been an encyclopedia, you know.
It'd be like Hex Files all over again.
Well, Mick is actually planning to do a whole series of books.
Yeah.
Where he talks about each decade, including, you know, every decade in the 2000s. I mean, I don't know how far he's got with it because I haven't spoken to him in a couple of years now. But last time I spoke to him, he was talking about doing that because he feels that only that way could you actively and accurately reflect what's happening in goth.
You get a snapshot of the time.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
I mean, obviously my specialism is the 90s, you know, because of obvious reasons. You know, it's really...
When Vasm were in Notts, and you're saying about small villages, I was making a joke because I was on the goth calendar. I was looking up things. I was like, what's this small village like below Scotland, Lancashire? I was making a joke because who the fuck goes there? And I was talking to a woman about a podcast. I was making a joke about it. I was like, who the fuck goes to this festival? The person I was speaking to was Donna McLeod.
Ah, yeah, it's a great festival. We're playing there.
Oh, wow. Didn't
know who she was. I was making jokes about it. It's like, who's going to this? I was like,
there's loads. Honestly, Morecambe is, in regards authenticity, that is the new centre. You know, it's like kind of there's several different events all in the same venue, effectively. You know, there's obviously there's the release of Bats and whatever else. There's a whole load of them happening all at once. Black Hole Sun. Basically, that's where the new bands are playing. That's where people literally who were involved, have been involved in the scene since the 90s, who were effectively active then, they were young, are now literally doing new stuff, and it's fantastic. I support it 1000%.
Right.
And obviously, Chaos Bleak, we're playing the one in September. We're staying up for the next 2 days in a row. But no, there's loads of festivals all around the country. I've lost track of how many there are now. Obviously, don't forget there's Goth City, which is now called Liardis Requiem. There's there's the Colville Gothic Gathering, which is at a biker pub in a small village.
I was not expecting it in fucking Colville.
Yeah, well, but Dean, this is the whole point, is that everyone is saying, you know what, I'm going to make this happen. I'm not just going to and this to me is the legacy of the 90s, is that we all said, you know what, if you want the scene to be X, then get out and do it.
Yeah.
Think that really that is what's actually happening. I've done my bit, and I still continue to do my little bit, not as much as what I could. Obviously I've got my own band going, and I've got sort of my thesis I'm writing, and I support anybody that wants me to help out and support. I'm there. People have obviously contacted me and asked for opinions and guidance, and I've given my 10 penneth. There was a Gothic gathering that happened in Stevenage last summer, the Peculiar Market, which it was a small event, but it was fantastic. It featured a lot of the underground bands of the scene at the time, active at the moment, like Chaos Bleak. We were on, the Jan Doyle band, Byronic Sex and Exile, Hertzfall, the Glasshouse Museum. We all played, and it was a lovely event, small but fantastic. But that is how it should be. One of the things I'm big into, if which you one day hopefully you'll read my thesis.
I will.
And I've actually written one paper so far, which has been published, which is in the public domain now.
It's going to be part of my research for my argument about Nottingham. So
excellent. Thank you very much. I keep coming back to folk voice and the fact that we all played our part. And it's about community, something that I'm really big into. I believe that in the community, I believe in the wider community as well. But I believe that really, sort of Goth has and always will have a place. Because you guys probably won't know this, but in sociology, there's an argument that they call them youth cultures, but now more accurate to say music-based cultures, are on a downward slope to ending. And most sort of sociologists would say, ultimately, Goth is on a downward trajectory, or any scene is on a downward trajectory.
The death of subculture.
Yeah, but I disagree, you see.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think that Goth is different. Goth is special.
Absolutely.
There's something about Goth which, I'm not going to denigrate any other culture at all, but I'm going to say that Goth stands out because it's the reason why Goth survived. In my thesis are 4 analytical chapters: inclusivity, embracing of diversity, resistance, and also sort of what they call the epistemology of diversity, which is effectively knowledge and applying that to it's academic sort of stuff. But effectively, we embrace diversity and obviously resistance and inclusivity, and basically, I think the reason Goth survives is because it hits so many different bases. You can Gothic music. There is no one Gothic music. On one side of the scene, you've got sort of distorted beats and that kind of stuff and everything. On the other side, you've got ambient. You've got sort of all kinds of ambient classical stuff. Then you've got neo-folk and all of that sort of stuff. And then you've got Gothic metal, and you've got everything in between. You tell me one scene that's got that. No disrespect, but you've not got that amount of diversity, musical diversity as well as cultural diversity in any other scene. You've even got Gothic hip hop over in America, predominantly, for goodness sake. So not my sort of thing either, Dean. But it's like the fact of the matter is that it's there. So I think that Goth will always survive. Actually, this is my, I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag.
It evolves.
This is my ultimate. It will evolve. Absolutely, mate. it'll evolve, because that is what people do, what things do, what human beings do, what animals do. You know, I mean, I'm not going to talk about the Darwinian survival of the fittest. I'm more going to place it in a Marxist perspective. I'm going to say that effectively it's the effect of dialectics and the evolution of what is known as the dialectical triad. And very simply, what that is three propositions. There's thesis, which is the first proposition, the first argument, the first thing. You could say, I don't know, jazz, let's say, you know. Then you've got the antithesis, which seems to be the conflict. Let's call it rock, you know, to make it simply. So you've got jazz is the thesis, the first proposition of any particular evolved form. Then you've got the antithesis, let's say rock for the sake of argument. Then there's conflict of some description, which we could go on about all day. And then eventually what happens is various parts of the conflict ameliorate, and then something new comes out, jazz rock.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the same thing happens in goth. Is I think that, as you say, Joseph, things will evolve. You've got one proposition, another proposition, then there's a synthesis, and we move on. And that is how dialectics work. And dialectics and a dialectical triad is the foundation of my thesis.
And you can hear it in the music too, because every decade the music sounds different.
Yes, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. 1 second, one of my dogs is getting a bit annoying. I don't know if you probably can't see him. This is Billy.
Oh,
he sits in. Yeah. Oh, you reckon it's to be a collie, because we've got 4 border collies, and if you know anything about border collies, you know that they're more intelligent than most people. But they they bully him a little bit, so he sits with me most of the time. The other 3 are outside.
Nightmare.
And when my wife, well, sorry, Dean. Sorry, mate.
The nightmare as teenagers collies are. When I took my pom to,
Oh God.
everyone has collies.
Yeah.
Collies.
Yeah, absolutely. My Billy's the father, who you've just seen. The mother's downstairs, and we had in 2023. You know, basically my fault. I took my eyes off him for 5 minutes, and basically Misty, which is a girl dog, was pregnant.
Oh.
And so I actually lost a summer of my life with border collie puppies, which went into teenagers, Dean. And there was 8 of them.
Oh my God, no.
So including the adult dogs, that makes it 10. So this little house here was full of border collie madness. We're now down to 4 because my wife couldn't part with all of the pups.
Too many dogs, too many dogs.
Mate, yeah, I know, but they are sweet and lovely.
I was going to say back
But there's holes in our wall which weren't there before
Too
the
many
puppies came along, that's
puppies.
for sure. Because the play fight. Yeah, we've got too many of them. But now this sweet enough. Anyway, sorry, gentlemen, I diverse. It's just that Billy was.
Sorry, actually, do you want to do a song first, Trev? Because I need to get
I've got my guitars behind me. Sorry, we want to introduce.
performance.
This is the Nightbreed studio, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is the Nightbreed studio. I mean, basically, it started on 177 Wellington Street back in the 90s, and bits of the equipment. When Nightbreed shop closed, and the studio shop and the record label continued for a few more years, but basically the equipment came with me.
Yeah.
So the Nightbreed studio is here in my house now, and so these speakers here behind me. You probably can't see them. Let's have a look.
Oh, you're up near the
Sorry,
cemetery. You're up near the you're up near the cemetery.
Right, so I'm not sure if you can see the speakers,
Yep.
and can't bend all the way around.
getting a nice
And the
pan
various
around.
equipment down here and all that. They have heard all of the Nightbreed stuff. So we're talking Suspiria, we're talking Killing Miranda, we're talking Faithful Dawn, we're talking Lupine.
My
we're talking
God, you're
Midnight
mentioning all
Tribulation.
the bands we were talking about earlier.
Oh, bless you. It's as if I knew. Basically, Brother Orchid, all of that has gone through those speakers. So there.
Wow.
So yeah,
It's kind of
all of it. So I've still got the same speakers as I had back in the 90s.
it's great that
Because to be honest with you, a good speaker system.
it's great that your old studio was right next to Nottingham Cemetery, behind it.
He was near it. He was near enough to go have some photo shoots. So we've had several photo shoots.
I did.
You know,
when it was snowing. I was going to ask.
Yeah, it's lovely there. I did one once, but it's never been published.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, which track would you like me to introduce, Andy?
That's up to you. You are the guest. It's one of your two.
Oh, let me see. So we're looking at sort of the legacy tracks I sent you. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to introduce the title track of the very first Midnight Configuration album, "The Kissing Skull." Would you like to know how it got its title?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, this is actually quite interesting. The reason how I came up with the title "The Kissing Skull" for the track and the album was many years ago. And I was on the phone to a lady which used to manage Every New Dead Ghost, and then she kind of worked a little bit with Midnight Configuration. She's an American lady, and what happened was my youngest son I was talking to her on the phone about Nightbreed and whatever else, and my youngest son was jumping around and dancing. He was only a baby at the time. And he used to have 2 plastic skulls, which of course I gave him, of course, because he's a goth child. What was happening is he was trying to get my attention, so he was making them kiss. And he said, so the lady on the phone, she said to me, goes, "What's he doing now?" And he goes, he's making the skulls kiss. They're the kissing skulls.
Ah.
So that's where I got
Title
the
drop.
album. So my son Coram, he actually he knows he's not into goth at all particularly now, but he actually gave me he gave me the title of the very first Midnight Configuration, "The Kissing Skull." So everyone, here you have the Kissing Skull.
Nice. Okay, we'll move on. When you said how goth is evolving, wouldn't you say it's going to evolve past the point where it's too watered down?
No.
From what it was?
No. This is one of the.
No, he was talking about the mainstream.
Oh.
Yeah.
Doing that.
I think Joseph is got me with this one. You see, one of the things, reason why goth survives is because goth has been under constant sort of recuperative attack.
Yep.
It's been under another form of attack as well, called hegemonic attack, but I won't go into that now. But it's been under constant attack for recuperation. But goth, because of our stubbornness as a culture, we've not. Some people have fallen for it, Dean. No two ways about it, you know. But I think that the underground and lots of people in the scene have said, you know what? We see through it. We see through it like a see-through raincoat. It's like kind of, we know it's coming. We're not going to fall for it. And so they keep on overcoming it. And the waves and waves of recuperation are constant. We're constantly suffering from it. You know, it's kind of like, and Whitby is a case in point, is that people, you know, kind of like, when you see it, oh, Dean, when you see it in the papers, you know what I'm talking about now. It's cringe territory, isn't it? It's kind of like, hey, are you depressed? Is it Halloween all year for you? You know, look at these people, you know, and they kind of, oh man. So, but the core of the scene, what I call the hardcore of the scene, will always survive, because, and even when we're dead and gone, I mean, I'm getting on a bit now. I'm 64 now. You know, I'm getting on a bit now, and you know how old Joseph is or anything, but I know, Dean, you're pretty young. How old are you, Dean?
I'm 47. So I remember the 90s, the mid-90s onwards was my time, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you were a perfect age to appreciate it.
Oh.
I mean, obviously,
Nightbreed Records, I have to do a bit of fan gushing here. Nightbreed Records was it in Australia.
Oh, wow, really?
We loved Nightbreed.
I had no idea.
Here, and mostly because our DJs would get the music in, the record stores would get the music in, and we could get the CDs. And then, sort of as time moved on, when I started building my own collection, I started buying CDs online. Do you remember a few years ago when someone bought all of Intravenous' stuff, you threw in a t-shirt?
Yes, I do.
That was me.
Oh, Joseph, sorry. Oh, thank you, mate.
That was awesome. I have worn the t-shirt, though I had to cut it up a bit so it would fit.
Mate, I've actually turned most of my old Nightbreed t-shirts into a bedspread.
Oh, wow.
Which actually works. It's not just Nightbreed stuff, it's other stuff. What I will do, I might send you guys a photograph of it.
Oh, wow. That'd be cool.
It's pretty good. It's got some Suspiria stuff in it.
And, but yeah, we still play Nightbreed stuff now. Me as a DJ, I do it too.
Fantastic.
It's bands like Suspiria still very popular in the clubs.
Wow.
If anything, we wish they made more music. But I mean, Mark's also had other projects like Intravenous, obviously, and Razorfade. Yeah, he's living in Melbourne now too. It's like when I've been to Melbourne twice since I've known. It's like, oh, I'd love to run into him.
Weirdly enough, Joseph, is that I have actually just recently heard from Matt. You know, Matthew Cole Lucien.
Oh, yeah, the singer.
He contacted. I was, you know, he basically left Suspiria and left the scene back in the 90s. And I probably he left the scene. He's not on social media or anything. He's very reclusive. Mm-hmm. But just recently, we've kind of hooked back up together again.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. He's a fantastic bloke.
Yeah. Really.
Very clever guy. And he's not into... Well, I don't know if he looks goth or not. Last time I saw him, he didn't. But he lives in London now. Mm-hmm. And he's going to come up to Nottingham, hopefully between May, June, July time. And we're going to have a meet-up and we're going to have a chat about things. And all I can say is there's talk of new music.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm not going to say anything else other than that now.
Okay.
I need to have a really good long chat with Matt.
That'd be cool.
You know, Matt has got no...
So, yeah.
Joe, you know, Matt has got no idea of how popular Suspiria are.
You're kidding me. Wow.
He's got no idea.
Okay,
no.
I actually have every Suspiria CD. That was really hard to track down. In fact, one seller had it listed under heavy metal, so I picked it up nice and cheap.
Wow.
The holy grail for me is the allegedly vinyl record, and of course the one that's half Midnight Configuration, half Suspiria.
Yeah, you can still pick that up. I forget what it was, the telepathy theories. Through the telepathy theories.
Yeah, I came so close to getting a copy.
Yeah.
But from a dude in Greece, bought it. I thought, yes, finally. Didn't have a copy. Crap. Have you got the other one? No, sorry, I don't have that one either. No.
You know, like the 12-inch EP.
But there's a guy in New Zealand I found that's got a copy, but I don't have $120 reduce right now, so I'm gonna have to wait.
You're going for silly money.
Oh, it's nuts.
I'll tell Matt. I'll tell Matt. Because I mean, Matt, seriously, lads, he's got no idea. I keep telling him. I says, I don't know about you lot, but I actually like Suspiria more now than back in the day, and I've always loved Suspiria. But I think there's something about Suspiria which is so special.
Yeah.
And I'll say that, you know, somebody actually released their music. I mean, when I first heard, I tell you...
Well, I remember hearing them in clubs when they were brand new. That was the new stuff that was getting played.
I'll tell you one thing, because Mark used to live in Nottingham, and obviously, you know, he used to be part of Nightbreed. Mark came round, you know, I knew about he was getting Suspiria together and everything else, and I knew Matt anyway, and I knew, you know, we were all part of the same scene in Nottingham. And
yeah.
Mark came round on his push bike one day with a bet in his pocket.
I heard a few Suspiria stories from my friend Niall, who used to manage the horror side.
Oh, you know Niall?
Yeah.
Yeah, Niall's a good lad. Say hello to him for me.
I used to DJ with him a bit in Adelaide for a while before he moved to Sydney.
Give him my regards. He's a great bloke, Niall. He used to make candles as well back in the day.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Niall's a great bloke.
Because he said he owns the only non-signed copy of Allegedly. Because they said, "Would you like us to sign it?" He said, "Well, you're signing every other copy, so I don't want you to sign it."
Yeah, that's right. I was there when that happened.
Oh
actually.
Wow!
Yeah. But anyway, what was I telling you? I was telling you how when I first Mark they'd been in the studio, Square Centre, which unfortunately now has been levelled to the ground, which is sad. Square Centre Studios in Nottingham, which is where all the Suspiria stuff was recorded.
Yeah.
The first two, all of the early Midnight Configuration, including up to Funeral Nation, was recorded, and a load of other stuff has been levelled to the ground now. Piece of Nottingham history destroyed again. No, don't get me started on that one, because the Nottingham City Council are just busy destroying everything.
Whereabouts was it?
It was, I always forget. It was basically the junction where Mansfield Road goes into. Oh God, I want to say North Sherwood Street. It was near where Andy Bone Bikes used to be, which is that's gone now. It was down. I've got some photographs because a friend of mine took it on for a while and he kind of kept it going. But ultimately, Nottingham County Council, it's a long story. They wanted it for student accommodation, which they bulldozed it down, and it's now not been built on for 2 years. So many great bands recorded there. I mean, for goodness sake, even David Bowie recorded there.
Wow.
You know, any other country, any other city in the world would say, we're going to keep the studio on as a legacy, but not Nottingham. Oh no, let's just talk about Robin Hood for another 5 hours, you know. I'll tell you about how when I first, because we've been in the studio, because I actually helped co-produce the first demo that Suspiria did, which had God's Take Dust, and I can't remember what the other track was. And Mark went in the studio and he kind of produced it, and he came around on his push bike with a cassette, and he said, Trev, I've got some tracks here I want you to hear. There's a track on it I think could be a really good track, a good dance floor track. And he played me Dance Floor Tragedy, and at that moment, gentlemen, I knew immediately. Every now and again, obviously my journey in the music industry and with bands is every now and again somebody comes up with something which you know is special.
Oh, yes.
And I said to Mark, I went, that is a killer song. That's a game changer. And seriously, before it was even on CD, when it was just on bloody cassette tape, I said to Mark, because that's a game changer. That's a game changer. And literally, should I tell you the day it was ever first played in the club? Would you like to hear that story?
Oh, yes, please.
Right, okay. So what happened is Mark and I were DJing at a club again. What was it called? It is now, again, it's just derelict now. It was called some. I will remember it, but he and I did a night.
Probably make a better club now that it's derelict.
Yeah, well, it's every now and again on.
As long as the beer's warm and there's a broken toilet, you're right.
Yeah, it's Nottingham all over. Typical English.
Nail the fuse box so it doesn't blow.
Oh yeah. I remember the name of the club. It's been called different things over the years, but the night we ran was called the Visitation. And the way it worked, Dean, this is kind of going back to what we were saying about DJ, is I would play the first hour and a half to 2 hours where I'd play exclusively new material. So I'd be playing stuff like Icon, Australian band.
Icon
I'd be playing stuff like The Merry Thoughts, Still Patient, Tools of Dartmoor. I'd be playing Garden of Delight. I'd be playing all that new stuff, which I think was fantastic. I'm a massive fan of the Garden of Delight, even to this day, and everything Artwood Franzman has done, I've always really rated. And he knows it.
You're a specialist opener.
Sorry?
You're a specialist opener.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I would play.
So am I.
Good man. I would play all the new material.
I do the same thing. You got to teach the new music.
Yeah. So what would happen is I would play the first 2 hours, and people would maybe dance a little bit, grumble, and everything else, thinking, I don't care, I'm going to play this damn music.
If they're not dancing, they're drinking. It's all good.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation, Joe. And so what was is I would play the first 2 hours, and then Mark would come on and he'd play all the mainstream legacy stuff, which, get people going. But the idea is that I would kind of play that stuff, and then he would play that stuff. But what happened is Mark was always a master of promotion, I'll be honest with you. And what is he took a chance. The Tragedy EP was just pressed up. We got the first pressings. It had not even been distributed. And we took it down to one of the visitations. And he said, Trev, tonight I'm going to play Dance Floor Tragedy. And I went, okay, this is going to be good.
Oh.
I was there. Anyway, so what happened is I kind of did my bit, and I wasn't going to play the Suspiria. I played God's Take Doster earlier on and stuff like that. And he said he was playing stuff like the Sisters of Mercy, The Mission, even stuff like James Ray and stuff like that. And then he played Dance Floor Tragedy. Mates, the dance floor packed. It was an immediate hit and success. I've never seen anything like it. People just went, first few bars, they're on the floor, and it was packed. And if it was the days before mobile phones with cameras, if I could have took photographs and videos, I would have done. Because you would have look on Mark's face, he was so happy to put it mildly.
Wow.
And I was there. That was the first time it was ever played in a club, and it packed the floor.
Excellent.
I was there.
The only track I've had that I played you that people didn't know was Eyes of the Night, Jungle's Shadow Dance.
Yeah.
And nobody knew it at the time.
Now it's a dance floor classic.
I learned about it from talking to DJs internationally and played at that time. Bang, instant hit. Because as a DJ after a while, what will work?
Absolutely, yeah.
And sometimes they have to warm up to it. But like there's a new band from Bavaria called DIAF, I think they're called DIAF.
Yeah.
And they're playing a mix, sometimes almost going towards new wave, but it's mostly kind of dark wave.
Right.
But the way he does it is somewhere different. I've gushed on about DIAF to Dean plenty of times. Over on various places of the internet. I won't shut up about them.
I've not heard of them.
They're one of the few bands they release on vinyl. I buy it.
I'll have a look. I'll have a look, mate. I say, Joe, you might know Paul from Heartland then. Heartland Records in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think he was my main contact in Australia for quite a long time.
I think last time I went to Melbourne and went to Heartland Records, he was working
still there.
That day.
Wow. I haven't seen him for many, many years, but when he used to come to England on a
this was
trip,
about 6 years ago now, though, so things probably changed.
Yeah, I'm not.
Just before COVID.
Wow, that's quite a way back. Yeah, wow. I mean, so because Suspiria, like I say, they still pack the floor intermittently. I mean, obviously, Nighttime's another good one.
Well, if Suspiria were to re-release their old albums on vinyl, they would make a killing.
Well, to be fair, Marcos owns the actual rights, and he's in Melbourne.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, Matt, don't think he owns 50%, obviously, because they were a duo. But I think the actual recording, he owns the actual. I think that the actual intellectual property is owned equally between the two of them, which is fair. I think Mark owns the recordings. I know we licensed them to Cleopatra over in California.
Okay.
And I don't know what Mark's doing. Lost complete contact with Mark many years ago. So I know there was talk of reissuing some Suspiria stuff. But I know that Matt...
Because I remember back in the old MySpace days, Mark actually said, Great and Secret show, it's that rare, you guys can just share it for free.
Wow.
I had it on CD, I managed to track it down.
Yeah.
I managed to track all the CDs down a little bit before they really took off in the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Joe, I'm going to tell you something which you may not know about, but did you know there was actually a live bootleg album CD which had a very limited release, which was basically pirated, called Suspiria Live in Leeds?
No.
Do you know that? Yeah, it's. I think it's literally pirate copies. I don't think it was officially released in any form, but I think
I made a Suspiria T-shirt for myself.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah,
I just got it printed on. It's the cover to the Great Secret show, but I chopped off the album name.
Right.
I got it printed through a store.
I want to do the bloody same thing because I really want one, but I can't get them. They just don't exist anywhere without making one.
Bought one myself, then removed it from the store because I wouldn't feel right profiting.
Yeah. Even
if a band's still not going. But people see the shirt, unfortunately, and they think, oh, you must really love the movie. It's like, yeah, Goblin have been the bane of my fucking existence looking for the music.
Yeah. All the original Suspiria T-shirts, all hand printed by Mark. Because see, when he came into business with me, he actually already had like his own screen printing T-shirt business, and basically incorporated the two.
That just ties right in.
So every single T-shirt, Suspiria T-shirt in existence, was actually made by Mark.
Except mine.
Except for yours.
in fact, but mine isn't perfect, so it's got all sorts of weird artifacting and that on it. But I kind of like it. It makes the band name look almost ghostly.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair,
it's cool.
One of the marks of a really good band is they become legendary, and Suspiria have become legendary.
Absolutely.
I mean, they only existed for a very, very short time, and I'll never forget the day when Mark told me that he was finishing with Suspiria. We went mental. There was at that time Nightbreed was run by the three of us. It was me, Mark, and a chap called Richard. We also had a bit later somebody else that used to work in the shop. And I remember Mark just came in one day. We were just sitting at our computers working and stuff, and he just came out with it because I think Suspiria, I can't remember if he said I'm going to split Suspiria up or we're going to split up. I can't remember what he said, but that time Suspiria were on the rise big time. I mean, what people don't realise is that when Nightbreed came, when I first started Nightbreed, it was probably the worst business decision ever, because that's when Goth was at its most vociferously attacked by mainstream corporate forces, and it was pretty nasty in the UK at that time. If you were a Goth, you got the piss taken out of you, and well,
that was the thing. Late 80s, Goth was in decline.
Yeah,
and it took probably at least, I think, until around the mid-90s for it to really get back up there again.
I think so.
But the other thing people forget too is all the classic bands were practically mainstream bands in the 80s.
Absolutely. And they're all too saying...
The 90s, nothing was mainstream.
Absolutely. I mean, what I'll tell you one thing. One of the things I'm very passionate about this, as you could probably tell, is that...
Oh, absolutely.
Is that really one of the things I want to get across, because I don't want to start... But I'm really fed up of these people jumping on, because Goth is continued to survive because of the cultural work that's done in the 90s, and various people, mainstream people, have released books, and they go on about how great the 80s were.
Oh God, all those books
and on and on and on.
And you get a lot of older people that leave the scene, come back 20 years later. It's like, oh, it's not as good as it used to be. It's like, give it a chance.
Yes, mate.
Get out to some gigs.
There's a name for them in sociology, They're called the returners. The returners all returned, and they tried to turn the clock back, and I don't like that. I mean, what? Oh, okay. This is my point. I was going to say about the 90s. is one of the greatest things about the 90s is most people don't realise it was run on a shoestring. We all, I mean, we ran it on nothing. And I'll tell you
it
something,
was DIY.
I don't often tell people, Nightbreed, we basically were on subsistence wages, and we put everything back into the business, everything, so we could literally keep on expanding and putting record CDs out and whatever else.
Yeah.
Most people don't know is that Nightbreed never had,
and you've released a lot of CDs.
Yeah, Nightbreed never had more than £2,000 in the bank at any one time. What would happen is we'd release something, and then that would take all the money gone, and then what would happen? We'd work hard to get it back up again, and then the taxman would take the money, and then we'd work hard to get the money back up again, release something, and then avoid paying tax for a while.
The money keeps getting reinvested into new music.
That's exactly it. We had a policy, Nightbreed's policy was 100% reinvestment. And that's why there were so many releases by Nightbreed.
That's what shits me off when people are trying to do things for profit. It's like, no, we're doing it for survival.
You can't do that.
As long as we don't lose our ass doing it, we'll keep doing it.
That's it. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to become a millionaire, don't get involved in the goth scene.
I mean, the whole idea
go
of
somewhere else.
Corporate branding and that is so off-brand for us anyway.
No, I don't like it.
It's like, why would I buy fashion from some stupid brand?
I mean, one thing that really annoyed me
to be a walking billboard for them and pay them for it. I'd rather do that for a band that I like.
Do you want to hear a funny story?
Yes.
Right, I was in, of all places, Glastonbury. You know, my wife was doing a course there. And, you know, I mean, apart from the Glastonbury Festival, which I don't like, and I won't go on about, Glastonbury's got a lot of spiritual, pagan stuff going on, so it's pretty cool for that. So my wife was there, and I was there just, you know, waiting for her. And I saw a young lad walking along the street, and he had sort of like, he had a T-shirt that said, "Sad Old Goth." You know where I'm going with this? And I went, I looked at him, and I thought, mate, I thought to myself, you can't be more than 20 bloody years old. And it's sad old Goth, 20. Anyway, and he walked along, and he had at the back he had some kind of, I can't remember, some kind of what I'd call kiddie logo thing. And I said to him, "Excuse me, mate, did you know that was our idea? That T-shirt, sad old Goth was something. The actual idea was by people who were friends of ours, and it was actually originally sad old Goth was a back print. Mark had this idea, and it was a great idea, but it was a front print. So Nightbreed sort of, it's a Nightbreed thing." I said, actually, the organisation I used to run, it was our idea, the sad old Goth thing. And he went, "Oh, really? Well, fantastic." And apparently it's some, I'm not going to mention the name, some kind of mainstreamy corporation that I think they've stopped doing it now.
There's
and I thought,
a bunch of them.
Okay.
It's a huge problem nowadays, is people who are creating their own goth brands, not goth brands kind of, but their own clothing are getting stolen by the large...
And calling it goth.
Yeah, dictate what goth is, right?
But that's commodification again, though, isn't it? I mean,
exactly.
I mean, but goth will survive, in my opinion.
But it's starting to happen within the subculture.
I mean,
itself,
I said to you earlier on in the conversation, my opinion is goth has had more shit thrown at it, if you pardon my swearing, than any other sort of music-based culture, and we have survived.
And people see it as the village bicycle everyone gets to ride.
But goth will survive. It may not be what we recognise it. I mean, the conclusion after I've gone through everything, and I've got to defend this when it comes to my Viva Versailles, my thesis, is that, you know, Marxist sociology, which is mainly what I work with. Theory is, because of commodification, anything authentic will die. My view is it will survive, it will change, it will adapt. And I'm using Marxist dialectics and Fichtean dialectics to say, well, actually, it will always adapt. It'll always adapt, because it always has adapted. Wherever's come along, it's adapted it.
Well, that's the thing too. The tourists, they come and go.
Yes.
But your core people, what I would call the local elite or whatever that run your scene, they don't go anywhere.
No. I mean, I'm in the scene for good now. I mean, I've been involved in the scene since it started. You know, I was involved.
I've had people with my age say that I'm old and I should give it up. It's like, hey, I'm still in my fucking prime.
Mate, I'm 64, and there's people in the goth scene I know well into the 70s in the UK.
Yeah.
Bollocks to them.
And you're still there doing it, and you're doing it better than what a lot of people younger than you probably are.
This is, as I said earlier on in the conversation, this is what the weirdest thing is about how youth cultures are meant to work. It's meant to be the young. They're meant to be the young firebrands and the chalice holders. But in goth, it's not. It's the older generation. Still.
It's the exception.
Yeah.
We stick it out. We don't just give it
I
up.
ain't giving it up.
To some degree, punk's been the same.
To a degree, but I'm not expert.
The way you explained it, goth is still very closely tied to punk with a lot of the ethos behind it.
Yeah.
You need to do a song.
I mean,
for.
I think that goth, obviously, as we all know, evolved from punk anyway.
Exactly.
But it's not a direct evolution, and it's not purist in its form. But goth, I think that one of the things I had to take out my thesis, which I kind of really wanted to put in, and I may actually write a paper about this at some point, is I think that one of the reasons why goth has survived. This is not in my thesis. This is something I'm going to do with a later project. Is I believe that in all of us there's an attraction to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
You could call it a fear of death. You could call it an existential fear of death. But people deep down, there's this kind of fear, primal fear of the unknown, and it's also not just a fear; it's an attraction. Which is why you have horror films. This is why you have all of that. And so when people talk about the aspects of goth, you can like horror films and not be a goth. You can read the poems of Lord Byron, which, by the way, gentlemen,
From Nottingham.
I actually live in Annesley, which is only 2 miles from Newstead Abbey, which is where the ancestral home of Lord Byron, just so you know.
He also had a home in
Just so you
Nottingham, in the main street.
He did, absolutely. Also, he owned a pub on James's Street. That's near the Sal.
Oh, really?
So, but Byron is actually from literally where we live now. He wrote about Annesley Castle's gone now, but Lord Byron wrote, I think it was some of the verses from, I think it was the Childe Harold poem, which is a Gothic sort of poem, literally 100, maybe half a mile from here. So, so people can like Gothic literature, Gothic films, Gothic whatever, and not be a Goth at all. And people in the Gothic scene not necessarily like horror films. I know plenty of people that don't like horror films.
I have to ask.
Yeah, go on.
Are you mad, bad, and dangerous to know?
I'm probably more like kind of sad old goth and dangerous to know. Probably more.
Love it.
I'm probably more eccentric and not dangerous to know.
We need to do a song.
I don't know. I think that's for others to say rather than myself, actually, Joe.
Guys, we need to do a song. I'm trying to tell you for like 5 minutes.
Okay, so which one of us is going to do it?
I think Meg should do it.
Meg, yeah.
Yep.
By the way, Meg has her avatar as an otter.
I think it's an otter. I'm not 100% sure.
It looks like an otter, and it talks. And I should set something like that up for mine while my camera's not working.
Yeah, I just had to sign in.
I am a lawyer. I am not a cat.
All right. I'm trying to remember what I picked again because I'm tired. I am like absolutely.
Listed it in gen.
Yeah, I've just.
Or is it's really? Comes in America?
Yeah.
What time is it in America?
It's 11 a.m. But I've been on like a vacation traveling around the country for like a month, almost like a month and a half now. So I'm tired.
I'm sorry, we've talked over.
No, I've actually been like super like interested though. So yeah, but we can talk about that later. I'll introduce my song.
Can you understand our accents though? This is the question, because obviously a lot of people. Because I find when I talk to Americans, sometimes they can't understand my accent.
Oh no, I understand perfectly. Like I grew up on a lot of the Americans that grew up on like Monty Python and stuff like that. We could.
All right, okay. Then.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play 13 Candle or Xenomorph by 13 Candles.
Xenomorph.
Nice.
Yeah.
Black boy, what you want to?
Excellent. Okay, we talk now. Yeah. Oh, I know, lads. Did you know that Chaos Bleak did a cover of Xenomorph?
No.
Yeah, we did a cover of it. I don't think we've officially released it, but it's available as free downloads. I think if you go to the Chaos Bleak Bandcamp, I'm not sure if it's still available, but there's several freebies on there, and I think one of them is our cover version of Xenomorph. Mm-hmm. And also, you know that Justin, our bass player, used to be the bass player from 13 Candles as well.
Well, look at that.
Bloody hell! Everybody knows. This whole competition is everybody knows each.
I know.
Yes.
Well, I think we just all knew each other. We all know what we're like, and we all want to work together. And I mean, I've known Justin obviously since I signed 13 Candles.
You're like the European monarchy. You're incestuous.
You could put it that way, Joe.
It's like one great big goth musical swingers party.
You're talking about Carnival of Souls now. That's one of the festivals I ran.
Well, knowing what some of the club nights were back in the day, I've seen gimps swung around on chains and all sorts of things.
Oh, bless you, mate. Wow. Sorry, Dean.
No, I'm talking about my club here in Adelaide.
Your old store used to be in Sneinton Market, right?
Yes. That was when we were to our peak. We had two premises in Nottingham. We actually had initially I started it from a kitchen table in the Arboretum area of Nottingham in my old flat back in the 1992, I think it was 91, 92.
That's a nice area.
I used to have and it was literally my kitchen table, and I used to have an old Bontempi typewriter. I typed out all the letters by hand and everything. And so I started there. Then we moved to an area of Nottingham called Radford, and I had my own room like an office. And then we moved from Radford to 177 Walton Street, which is where Nightbreed started really taking off, and that's where Mark got involved. Mm. And then we kind of had various rooms in there, and then eventually we had a whole floor, and part of that was the Nightbreed studio. And then, Dean, the final bit, what we did is we had a shop on a Saturday at in 177 Walton Street, but people wanted to come during the week, so what we did is we actually had a second property in Sneinton Market, Avenue A, Sneinton Market, and that's where the Nightbreed shop was. That's where our main headquarters were. We kept on Wallerton Street for the Nightbreed studio until even after we closed the shop for about 6 months after we kept it on. And then eventually we had to close that as well. But yes, that's right. We was in Sneinton Market.
So would you say that your was Carnival of Souls like an answer to Whitby in a way? Or...
No, Carnival of Souls was a completely different idea. It was actually my idea, Carnival of Souls. Now, what actually happened was, this is kind of a parallel evolution to Nightbreed. There's a time that Nightbreed was getting going, 1992, 93. I kind of hooked up with a friend of mine a guy called H, Nicholas Coleman, who now lives in America. Actually, lives in Palm Beach, Florida. He lives there. He emigrated many years ago. What was he was very much involved in the fetish scene, but he also was involved in the goth scene, and he was really excited about the new stuff that was coming out at that time, through Nightbreed and everything else. So we hooked up again, and we started chatting about stuff, and he said, well, why don't we put together a gothic fetish night, so it's 50-50, and it would, back in the 80s, used to be Rock City Nottingham, which is a very large club, used to have an alternative night for alternative read goth night. It was fantastic. There was every Saturday night, there was somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people there every single Saturday night. One of the greatest times of my life, I'll be honest with you.
Same.
Young man at the right time, brilliant. But it kind of turned its back on goth, and well, it came back, but that's another story. But H and I wanted to kind of capture that experience but make it more fetishy and include the fetish crowd. So we created a night called the Marquis Masquerade, and the Marquis Masquerade, we ran it at several clubs in Nottingham, and I basically took care of the music and H took care of the fetish side. And so the music policy was old and new goth, because the Fets don't care what music's played really, as long as they get on with various other activities they're interested in. And so we kind of used that, and also Mark Tansley and I from Suspiria, we set up the Visitation. So we've got the Marquis Masquerade club night happening in Nottingham, and also the Visitation. Now the Marquis Masquerade became quite successful, and I haven't got time to go into it now, but various things happened, and it became clear that we could run a much bigger festival. And so we were offered a night at Rock City, and they said you can have a Sunday. It was a Monday night. And I said, I tell you what, and I see this film called The Carnival of Souls, and I thought, why don't we create a really big Gothic fetish extravaganza with live bands, goth bands, a playroom, a fetish market, blah 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 blah, and new Gothic music, etc. And so what happened is that we did, and it was my idea, and we set up at the first Carnival of Souls, and it was an absolute massive success.
I have the compilation CD right in my hand right now.
Oh, bless you. Yeah,
we're doing a music roulette for the last song at the very end, and this is one of the compilations. They're all Nightbreed compilations.
Right, yeah.
That is in the thing where I'll randomly pick a CD and then randomly pick a song, and whatever it is gets played.
Fantastic. I think before you do, you should also play Dance Floor Tragedy by Suspiria as well, because I think
that's your second song.
Oh, okay. Well, let you guys sort it out.
So you could play that when it's time. So that's all good.
Fantastic. I mean, obviously now Matt has been back in contact after many years. You know,
I have to say though, my favourite Suspiria song is actually Assassin's Soul.
Oh, that's one of mine as well, Joe.
But I want to have Now We See the Swine played at my funeral, because now we see the swine upon the altar.
Yes, I know.
I'm the swine.
You know what? That's actually a really cool idea. Anyway, I was telling you about Carnival of Souls. So Carnival of Souls basically started off as a one-off thing at Rock City. It very nearly didn't happen for various different reasons, but it did happen, and it was a massive success. People came from all over the world. 13 Candles played there. Midnight Configuration had their first gig there. I think Die Laughing played. Incubus, Succubus, and oh god, what was it? His Last Parade, I think, played as well, which were a band that were getting going at the time, and it was a massive success.
Did Athame ever play there?
Sorry?
Did Athame ever play there?
They did, but not at that particular event.
Yeah, I was thinking they would have had to have played at some time.
Well, they did. They played just the one time.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it was. But anyway, what happened was, various reasons, we moved it over to Derby, and it became entrenched in the local culture.
Oh,
and Carnival of Souls was a massive success. And it literally, it started actually the same year as Whitby.
Wow.
We were actually, Joe set her event up. Originally, Whitby ran in September, and she ran the very first one in September. October, on Halloween, I ran the very first Carnival of Souls. So Whitby and Carnival of Souls started at the same time. They were basically two parallel festivals. And so we kind of knew of each. I mean, obviously, I knew Joe and everything. And I knew she was. I know we had mutual friends and everything. I knew she was doing that, and we supported that. And she supported Carnival of Souls, and you know, it kind of started like that. And that's kind of it was parallel evolution, really.
I was laughing about Derby because it's like, well, it's Derby, and I originally doing it on the NetGoth site, and I was looking. You remember the bit on NetGoth where you listed your city and it told you all the goth things to do there?
Yeah.
Under Derby, it had Anne Summers parties.
The thing is, Derby. Yeah, I mean, it's those of you who don't, well, obviously, Dean and I know Derby. Derby's kind of like, is it fair to call it a satellite city of Nottingham?
Oh yeah. I mean,
yeah, I think so. You know, it's got its own culture and everything else. I mean, ironically, actually, we're playing Derby. Chaos Bleak, we're playing Derby in a couple of weeks. We're playing at the Old Vic, which is near the train station. We're playing there with Byron, Sex and Exile, and who else is on? And then a couple of weeks.
I thought there were no old places left because that good.
No, there is.
Closed during.
I mean, the Old Vic still puts. I mean, we play the Old Vic quite regularly. It's quite quiet these days. You know, you don't get the turnouts that you used to get. Yes,
not Derby has never really had a scene to it, except for Carnival of Souls that I can think of.
Yeah, well, Carnival of Souls was brought in by us, really. Yeah. So effectively, an export from Nottingham, indeed. You know, but you know, I mean, I know a lot of people. It was like part of the calendar. And at one point, we ran 2 a year, and then it went down to 1, and then the thing is that the Carnival of Souls was so successful in Derby because it was tied to a particular venue, which was later called Destiny and Elite, and it was a fantastic venue. It was bespoke. They kind of, even though it was a trendy audience the rest of the year, they wanted to attract a more alternative clientele, and they spent a load of money on creating this wonderful, wonderful place. I can't go into how wonderful it was. But unfortunately, when Carnival wasn't happening, there was not enough support, and eventually, unfortunately, it closed, and now it's been bulldozed down.
Oh,
Out of the story.
I know.
Remember Junction 7?
But definitely, you talk to anybody of a certain age about Carnival of Souls in England, they will say how fantastic it was. And there's very little footage and everything because it's a fetish event with vandal photography. So any photographs were taken were by people that we literally licensed effectively.
yeah.
There is some footage that's available, but it's unfortunate. There's a lot of footage which unfortunately got lost for various reasons. So there's only a hand, and also a lot of footage that exists is towards the later part of the festival when it went more electro-y, because that was what was happening in the scene at that time. The early days footage just exists in a handful of photographs and memories, and the compilation
That
CD.
was the beauty of the 90s too, though. You had to be living it or you missed it.
Yeah, that's the one.
How would you
When I look back,
How did your promotion? How would you do promotion back in the day? Because, well, I'm from the early. Well, my scene is the early 2000s. So, how would you, from my perspective, would have been doing it? Would have been posters in goth shops, flyers.
Yeah. What you'd have done, you'd have physically gone around and you'd have literally flied. I mean, one of the reasons why Mortiis Masquerade took off so well and that later gave birth to Carnival of Souls is because what happened is that the Mission were playing at Rock City. And so what we did, I mean, those of you who know Nottingham, there's only two ways you can get to Rock City. So we couldn't fly it in Rock City, but we fly it on the entrance to both sides of the road. And that literally introduced, and we said, you know, we're running this Mortiis Masquerade event. So if you want to come down, if you come in with a Mission ticket stub, because I know that Rock City closed early and the Mortiis Masquerade was going on till 2 a.m. So I said, you want to come early, you get 50% off, and we were rammed, mate. That really helped to set us up, which ultimately led to us running Carnival of Souls. So Dean, it would literally be posters in shops, flyers, all the way, flyers.
What about like
and what I
online?
So I ran Nightbreed.
Yeah.
So what would happen was everybody that bought something, I would stick a flyer in and say, right, Carnival Souls, Carnival Souls, Carnival. And I started promoting Carnival Souls a year in advance.
Yeah.
And it worked. So, but those days are over now.
How would you? Did you make use of?
There's so few places to fly now.
Literally nowhere now, mate.
And you can't just go around sticking them on telephone poles and things like that like you used to. That's classed as littering.
Yeah, I nearly get arrested for things now.
Yeah.
Did you make use of the internet?
I got
Make use of the early internet for promotion?
not massively, not back in. I mean, obviously the Goths went into it, but in its early days, it wasn't like it is now. It was very sort of, I don't know. There was obviously only net. There was no thing like Facebook or anything.
Yeah.
There was NetGoth. So there would be some bits of promotion, but really that's not where you got most people. Most people, you went out there physically, went to events, physically gave out flyers outside. You literally went out in the cold, you know, freezing cold, giving out flyers. It was very much a hands-on thing.
Fucking hell. Came out the end of that.
It was tough.
Well, I remember it, but it wasn't too long until the MySpace came about
tough,
and
mate.
shit.
It was tough, mate.
Plus, in the 90s, people had a lot less distractions than they do now. You were looking for things to do.
True, very true.
So if someone handed you a flyer to an event, it's like, hey, yeah, even
going.
if it's not something I'm normally into, I'm going to go check it out.
Absolutely, 100%. That was, yeah, absolutely. People were less distracted. I think it's a brilliant point. Absolutely true.
Right.
And also, one of the things about the reason why Nightbreed succeeded is that the scene was loyal to Goth, and they wanted Goth things to succeed. So people would go to a Goth night just to support it. Nowadays, people don't bother half the time.
And they weren't trying to squeeze free entry and stuff like that.
No.
You were more than happy to pay to get in because you knew it kept the event alive.
That's the one. Absolutely, 100%. Nailed it.
In regards to, I've noticed when I was listening to a lot of Nightbreed stuff, did you use a certain female singer for a lot of stuff? Because the person sounds quite similar through.
No, we didn't. No, I think it's just a production that you can hear. We did the early Nightbreed stuff. We used the same producer, and then Mark learned initially from him, and then I learned from him and Mark. And obviously, the Nightbreed sound evolved because we learned the production technique. In fact, we learned production techniques off a dance producer called Robin, and he actually helped us shape the Nightbreed sound, particularly Suspiria and Midnight Configuration, which later obviously then cascaded into Faithful Dawn and some of the aspects of Killing Miranda and many other Nightbreed bands that came along. So the early sound was, so it's not female, I think it's just the sound you can hear. No, we didn't use the same female singer at all.
The way you used synths was completely different to anyone else.
Yeah, that's true.
And that would have been in the production.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. And I still think to this day with Chaos Bleak, I use synths in a different way. And I think that's my Nightbreed legacy. Because it wasn't just me that used it. It was all of us. It was Mark. It was Matt. It was Glenn. It was all of us. We all kind of got into that new way of using synths. Really, literally, like how you use a guitar or a bass. This is kind of the legacy of Darkwave. I mean, Darkwave is basically goth with synthesizers. And
yes, it's like that with my music. I've got a big sort of influence both as a bass player and in the music I write from bands like Suspiria.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing.
I'm really excited about. Matt, he's talking about doing something, and when I meet up with him, we're going to have a long chat, and I'm really going to hopefully coax him out to do something.
Yeah.
Hopefully. He
That'd
seems
be
to
awesome.
be more. I got an email from him the other day, and he seems. I will tell you this bit, gentlemen. I will tell you this bit. One of the things that me and Matt used to talk about when we were touring the UK, there'd be in the van. There'd be Midnight Configuration, Suspiria, and 13 Candles, and we'd be sharing one van. So you can imagine how mad that was.
Oh wow!
And we'd all be chatting about stuff, and me and Matt would get chatting. You can tell I can talk a lot, and Matt and I would be gabbing about stuff. And we have this thing that he was, he was this sort of aesthete, and he obviously, this Byronic figure, and certainly that's what obviously, the Suspiria image anyway. And I said, what we ought to do is we ought to do a load of covers where we do classics. I mean, we're talking sort of, swing classics, but in a modern style. And you do a line, I do a line. We do a duet. And one that we had this. We talked about this. We talked about back in the 90s, and we had two ideas. We were laughing about this all the way to Whitby and back, me and him, how we were going to do it. And I said, well, and he said, why don't we do Me and My Shadow? So it was going to be a case of like, so we kind of just got the idea. It was going to be like me going, me and my shadow, and Matt would go, walking down the avenue. And we had a dance we were going to do and everything. It was all a bit of fun, And we were sort of talking about like kind of the other thing we were going to do is those vagabond shoes, those vagabond shoes. I'm leaving today. We had this idea we were going to do a line. So Matt was talking about maybe doing that. That may happen.
Here's 14.
Oh wow, that'd be cool.
But we were talking about doing the other stuff. I've always wanted to work with Matt, but we obviously at the moment I'm so busy, but it's whether Matt we're gonna have a chat about stuff. I think if we did anything, we certainly start with doing that. Me and My Shadow, probably.
You need to do Over the Hills and Far Away. The intro to Sharp. That'd be quite fun.
Yeah, I think the idea was it would be like classic songs. Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett. We'd do it.
Do a goth barbershop quartet.
Maybe even Anthony Mueller.
I used to sing New York in a jazz type band that we did.
Oh, fantastic!
We also did a cover of Hurt, and it was in the middle between Trent and Johnny Cash.
I mean, I can hear Matt in my head. Joe, can you hear Matt in your head singing that?
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny Cash is the classic. I can hear Matt in my head singing Me and My Shadow, a New York. I can hear him because his voice is so distinctive.
His voice was.
Even though it had obviously goth tropes, Matt stood above the rest in my opinion. His vocal delivery, lyrics, and everything. And so So, okay, so you want me to show up talk? Because I could talk goth all day, mates. Honest.
So it's just we need to do another song. I've got it on a timer, so it's between me and Joe now.
I'll do the next one since we'll be doing the Roulette last, and that'll be me. Okay. I've actually picked this song. It's off of the Gothic Sounds of Nightbreed, the first one.
All right, okay.
And it's the last track, Necromantic, Children Go Bang.
Fantastic.
The reason why I picked it is because I'm actually the first person to have uploaded it to YouTube.
Really?
And that was 14 years ago.
No. God.
Yeah, if you have a look at YouTube, the oldest listing of it is mine.
Fantastic.
It was me. Because I put it up there because it wasn't there. And I said, why isn't this here?
It should be.
This needs to be here, and it's there. I've had something like 14,000 views on it.
What?
So it's one of the...
Oh,
I don't
God.
get paid,
Yeah.
though.
Matt told me something. Do you know how many plays allegedly Dance Floor Tragedy has had on Spotify?
I could look it up.
Have a guess. Meg, what do you
I'd say
reckon?
5 million.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess around 5 million too.
2.5 million.
Oh, so yeah, that's really
Wow, that's still impressive. I was thinking it would be over 1 million at least.
2.5 million.
And that's just junk.
Matt told me himself, because he's basically, I mean, he didn't know. He had no idea. Till somebody told him, he said, "Do you know that band you used to be in? 2.5 million plays on Spotify." And he went, "What?" So, you know, he's kind of told me about that.
Like who's just good at everything and then just dropped it. It's just, and you're like,
yeah. I mean, I think he is going to be getting back into music. I mean, he's been making noises about it. I'm still quite excited about doing Me in My Shadow.
He's been doing. I think he stopped to do like he was making art or something. He was an artist.
Yeah, he still is. He's an artist.
Oh,
yeah, he still is.
Yeah, because I remember reading about that, sort of following up, getting information about what happened to the guys after they left and that. Obviously, Mark kept making music.
Yeah.
Intravenous came after, I think.
Yeah, they did, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely after. I mean, basically, after Suspiria split up, I don't know who split up or whatever.
Yeah.
Basically, Mark formed Intravenous almost immediately afterwards.
Wow.
And he got a Polis to,
because you can hear it in the sound.
Oh yeah, you got a Polis to do the vocals, and Polis is now in Method Cell. If you've heard anything by them,
aren't they?
Okay.
And Method Cell.
I'll have to look them up.
They've released a few albums, and they were doing quite well at one point.
He won't come over because he knows.
You've got your dog as well, Dean.
Oh,
my Billy's gone back to sleep again, thankfully.
Thank you.
But so okay.
This is a proper Pomeranian.
We've got 2 cats and 4 dogs in our house.
This is what
Wow.
is supposed to look
It
like.
is big. You can say we've got.
Yeah, he's a little wolf.
Wow, fantastic.
Little wolfy wolf.
Pretty face. The old wolves. They're all wolves. So gosh. So do you want me to introduce anything else at all, Dean?
Well, we usually do a song every half an hour. That's how it works. Well,
just drop it in, really.
So we've just done Children Go Bang.
Yeah.
Meg, do you want to introduce a song? Because I'm aware that we've just hogged the limelight here.
Meg's already done one. Okay. So we could throw in Dean's song now.
Sure, I'll do it.
Because we've probably got extras.
We've got.
We normally do 6 songs, but we've got 8 this time. So yeah.
Well, from this point, we should be.
While you're doing that, though, I'm going to go take a quick leak. I'll be back in a sec. Just keep going.
Well, from this point, we should be doing double songs to make up the time. So that's fine. We can do mine and Trev's. So I'm going to do Seraphim Shock and Annabelle. And I'm very surprised to see that Seraphim Shock actually was on Nightbreed, because as far as I know, they were very...
Well, they went on Nightbreed. They released the compilation album. I mean, they didn't release anything else other than that, other than tracks on the compilation.
But I'm just surprised because they've never really published anything in the UK. As far as they were very American-centric, and they still are. I'm like begging the dude to come to the UK, and he's only just considering it. That dude doesn't age. He looks the same as he did 20 years ago, and he's ripped. Seriously.
Oh, good lad. I'm glad.
How the hell does he do that?
Good diet and avoiding alcohol, probably. Do you want me to introduce the song then, Dean, whilst we're getting, because obviously you can chop this up later and everything.
Yeah, do it. It's your turn anyway.
Okay, so we'll be talking about Suspiria quite a lot. So I'm going to introduce one of my favourite songs by Suspiria. I've got quite a few of them. But this one is a special one because of the story I told early on. This is allegedly Dance Floor Tragedy.
Classic. So
you played Death Train by Chaos Bleak, haven't you?
that's the intro. The video will be at the first thing.
Okay. Do you want to play another track by Chaos Bleak, or have you got?
Yeah, fuck it if you want. Choose one.
Because obviously the Mokes, let me see. Oh God, which song would I play? One of our favourites is "Dress the Kids for War," so that's kind of a live favourite. That's where obviously Piers introduces everybody. Or you could play. I'm particularly pleased with the single. I'm particularly pleased with our cover version of Play Dead's classic "Walk Away."
Okay.
It's called AOC version. I'm particularly happy with how that's come out because I'm a massive Play Dead fan. Big surprise there. I'm also a massive Killing Joke fan.
Yeah.
When Geordie Walker passed, that was devastating. one of the highlights of last year was actually meeting Steve Green from Play Dead, because he came to see us at one of our gigs in Brighton.
Oh, wow.
And he is such a gentleman. And one of the most nerve-wracking things was us playing Walk Away in front of him. And I actually said to him on stage, I said, "Okay, Steve, I wasn't sure what you played, so, please be kind." But you know what? He was so lovely afterwards. He said to me, he goes, you played it your way, Trev, and it was good. That was me the highest praise ever.
Probably the biggest.
Lovely guy. Still in contact with him now. We've played with Steve from Playdead.
Yeah, you don't want to
Lovely.
copy it though, do you? You just want to make it.
No. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm very, very influenced by Steve Green of Playdead. I mean, my style, it's got mixed influences, which are sort of in and out of goth a little bit. But I mean, Playdead is a Killing Joke. Geordie Walker, major influences on me, as well as to a less degree, sort of Susie and the Banshees. The very first guitarist they had, John McKay, is an influence on me, an early influence on me. But plus, I'm also influenced by non-goth bands such as early Black Sabbath without all the solos, and Hawkwind also influenced on me as well.
Death Train,
production-wise, I'm influenced by Garden of Delight quite heavily as well. I'm influenced by Artaud's approach to production is a massive influence on me. But there's all different things going on there. Also, another influence to me is a band called Chrome. Most people have not heard of Chrome, but if you want to check out an album, which I think you'll all like, is the solo album by the former singer of Chrome, Damon Edge. It's called Alliance. So it came out in the 80s, just went under the radar, and literally it's got that flavour, that sort of Sisters of Mercy, drum machine-y flavour, and I strongly recommend Alliance by Damon Edge. I'll say it again, Alliance by Damon Edge. Every track on that album is brilliant. There's not a weak track on it. But I'm also influenced by many other things, stuff like Gun Club and the Cramps, but that goes into Death Party UK rather than Chaos Bleak. So I've got different influences. Obviously, Angelfire Project, that would be Sisters of Mercy.
Different projects, different influences, yeah.
And loads of,
You didn't say which Chaos Bleak track you're going to put on.
Oh, did I not? Ramble. Okay, so I'm Trevor from Chaos Bleak and Other Things, and the song I'm going to introduce now is Dress the Kids for War, which is off our Agents of Chaos album. Look out for our third album, going to be released before Christmas. And you've heard it here first, folks. The album's going to be called Assassins of Silence.
There you go. Nice. I was going to ask you, where did you film the Death Train video? Because it looks like Nottingham.
It is Nottingham.
It's
A bit of a long story as to how that happened. Short version of it was we were going to do everything in a green screen studio.
Yeah.
And the guy that runs our record label, Alan, lovely guy, he'd actually hired a video producer to actually come down to Nottingham, because the video producer, her name's basically her name's Olga Dickagy, and she's in various, I can't remember, she's in her own symphonic metal band called Dickagy, but she's also got her own video production company, which I think is called Dickagy as well. And he'd hired her and Alan from Seventh Hell, because we signed Seventh Hell Recordings, and he'd paid for her to come down to do this video. And we were going to go do this recording in a green screen. There's going to be all sorts of stuff dropped in. And literally on the morning of the shoot, and Olga was coming down from Newcastle, Alan was coming over from Sheffield, and we were going to, Piers, singer from Chaos Bleak, and I, we're going to come over to Derby, and we're all going to converge on Derby, which is where the studio was. But unfortunately, there's an outbreak of COVID, even though it's quite recent, and on the day we had to change what we were doing. Cut a long story short, we decided we were all going to meet in Nottingham train station, and we were going to walk in a direction until we saw something suitable. And we were going to literally film on the fly.
You didn't do it under the bloody one. You didn't do it under the one next to the train station, did you?
We did.
How many weird looks did you get?
Quite a few. But there were some lovely blokes who were they kind of, usually sell Big Issue, which for people outside of the UK who won't know is a paper for people who are homeless.
Yeah, we have Big Issue here too.
Oh, you'll know it.
Yeah.
And what is those guys came and sat literally, because where we like literally over an overpass sort of thing, and on the other side of it was a canal. And so what happened was they were watching us, and we were singing Death Train, and they stayed throughout the entire shoot. And what happened was Alan from our record label went over to chat to them, and Olga went over to chat to them, and they were lovely blokes, and they're saying, "So what sort of music is this then?" And we say, "It's Gothic music." Because I never thought I'd like Gothic music, and they really loved it, and they were so supportive. And what happened was they were cheering. I said, "Don't cheer! This is a video. This is a video shoot." Because we had the backing track booming, and it was a really cold day in February, and it was freezing. And what was that it happened to be a really sunny day, so we dropped lucky. And those guys were fantastic. And we said to them, I said, "What you guys don't know is we've released a live album on Bandcamp, and 50% of that I think goes to various charities, including charities that feed into Big Issue." So those of you out there, Death Train's not on it, but there's a live album called Chaos in the Field, which is available for download. I think you pay what you want, and a percentage of that goes to homelessness and people looking for.
That's
nice.
Like that. I was
So yes, Dean, we did it on the fly.
I was looking and I thought, is that Mapley Viaduct? I was like, there's no.
No. It's literally. If you walk out,
I know where it is.
If you know where Nottingham train station is, do you know where the Tesco is?
Yeah, opposite. It's the one with the tram.
Right.
Isn't it?
Yeah, you walk out towards Tesco, and then you make a right,
and
and walk the first overhang where the canal is. We did everything there. Now the bits that are indoors were inside Piers' wife. She's got like an artist studio in Sneinton Market, literally a stone's throw away from the old Nightbreed. And we said, can we film some of the internal bits there? So it's a sculptor studio, and we filmed it there.
Nice.
Most of it was done on the viaduct.
I was thinking, it looked a bit like Mapley Viaduct for a bit. I was like,
no, it's not.
Way he'd go there, because it's like, that's dangerous.
It's 100 yards from the train station.
Yeah. If you could.
Which also, interestingly, fact fans, features in the Joy Division film Control. The bit where they met off the train, that is 100 feet from where we filmed this video. I know it's set in Manchester, but a lot of filming was done in Nottingham. Cassandra Morton is actually from Nottingham originally, and a lot of Manchester of Joy Division's time is gone now, whereas bits of Nottingham still look like how Manchester looked. And the train station, the bit where they come off the train, that is where we filmed.
Cross, I assume.
So you might be interested.
The old cross where the trains used to go under down towards Victoria.
No, if you look at the film Control, there's a bit. It's only on for a cough and a spit, but when they're coming down, sort of the stairs to the side bit of the train station, which is where we filmed Death Train, and you've got Samantha Morton, I think it is, and I think it's Steve Coogan, and they're meant to be going to go to Manchester to find out about Ink. I can't remember Inca's Buffet. Bloody hell, that's a train station. And then by sheer coincidence, we happened to film Death Train literally the other way.
If you do another one, please do Bannerley Viaduct, because that would just suit perfectly. If you know Bannerley Viaduct,
we would have done, but the thing is, it was literally we had the producer coming down, and we had to make a decision. And we thought we'll meet up in Nottingham. And so we did, and it was a bit fraught, and people got lost, but it was almost didn't happen. But Death Train video happened, and I think Olga, lovely girl, she's done a fantastic job. We talked about crimping hair for a while, which is you can see I still do.
If you're doing another video, I'd recommend Bannerley Viaduct. We
might well do one.
You know,
I mean, we were not sure.
You know what it looks like?
Yes, we actually saw it. But we thought, we could have done that. But it was like literally, we had to make a decision, and we all met there, and it happened. And to be honest with you, it captured a moment in time.
Yeah.
And it was.
Now, Dean, you have to film a documentary about the viaducts in Nottingham.
In the thing I do about Nottingham, I'm actually going to go to all the places that Nightbreed has videos in, because I recognise most of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to.
So I'm talking about an individual one, and you've got to make it as boring and academic as possible.
Say the Saxons and the North, they partitioned Nottingham Centre, and one could only.
That's it. You got to do the voice. Make it fun.
I am to public speaking.
There were Vikings. And just do it in full northern accent, and they won't understand a fucking thing.
Yeah, we do it in the old full on Nottingham accent.
Just talking Nottingham accent.
Hey up you all, you
all right? Hey up me.
Or it could be a tourist campaign.
Stop being so Mardin, stop
Come
screwing.
see the viaducts.
Oh, tabs, yeah.
Where is I want to find a Kissing Skull grave, and you're on about it recently on Facebook, and the girl said who manages the site said it's fallen over now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I heard that as well. I'm not sure which. I can't remember which one. I mean, we did the Wake song, The Wake. That was all recorded in Rock Cemetery, and obviously bits and pieces of Kissing Skull. Photographs were taken there. In fact, loads of photographs were taken there. In fact, we actually used that several times. I mean, Death Party UK, we did a video called Shadows, and that was all recorded in the same cemetery. It's very visual. It's got caves. Nottingham's famous for its caves and all that.
That's the beauty of a cemetery. There are that many different types of graves. You could just film here, there, and everywhere, and it'll always be different.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
It's just I like watching the videos, because I can just it's like a big nostalgia trip, because I can just look at everything like, oh, it's a bit weird. Usually you don't.
Here's one for you. You see the Every New Dead Ghost video for the song Cages?
No.
That is captures. Have a look at that on YouTube. It's because we did quite a few videos for promo videos for Every New Dead Ghost, and they're all filmed in Nottingham. Some were filmed in Sneinton, which is where the band had its headquarters.
Yeah.
My favourite video that we did was Cages. Actually two. There's Cages because it's captured Nottingham in the 90s. The square, how it looked like before they ruined it. And also my other video, the favourite video that Every New Dead Ghost did, was Not in a Lifetime, because that was like the whole story about that video. It was very otherworldly. That's all I'll say. It was very strange, the whole video. Look at the video. You have to see the video first. And all I can say is that what you're seeing, none of that is effects. That's literally what it looked like. There's no lighting, no clever lighting. That's how it looked. And it was a very odd day. So if you look at Not in a Lifetime, the video, Every New Dead Ghost Not in a Lifetime video.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, so that's all. So that was, and Cages was a favourite of mine as well, because the band never featured in Cages. It was just lots of Nottingham, how it looked, lots of in camera, very sort of analog effects. But I really think it captured the time and the sound, and that's my old band, Every New Dead Ghost.
I was curious about something you said when we're talking at the club. Is that you said Morgoth never existed in the UK?
Say that again. What? Morgoth? No, never. No, it's an American thing. Never existed.
What would you call
Never.
What do you call metalheads to the new metal scene who dress goth in the UK and the noughties?
I call them metalheads who dress goth. No, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the metal scene. Okay, I'll put my sociologist's head on for a second again. The metal scene exists in a different cultural space to goth, and even though there's elements that you could say, the strongest term you could say is appropriated from goth, the metal scene, and I've got a lot of respect for metal, by the way. I still like a lot of metal myself, and I think it flies its own flag, but it exists in a different scene, in a different cultural space. Goth exists in a far more underground, and I would say countercultural space rather than subculture.
It is.
I mean, let's be honest, metal in most of the world is practically mainstream, even if it's not chart topping.
It is. I mean, I like metal. Justin's big into metal as well. I think there's lots of crossover with metal and goth. We, as Chaos Bleak, because we're quite heavy as well, we play a lot of metal events. And we played Chaos Bleak. We played a full-on metal festival a few months ago called Hard Rock Hell, and we were the opening band. We were contracted to play the main stage at 2:00 on a Friday afternoon, and we thought, good God, Friday, no one's going to be there, and if they are there, what the hell are they going to make of us, you know?
Yeah.
And we went on, and it was. People were just streaming in, and there was no goths there at all, maybe 2 or 3 that are a bit that way, and we played to a pure metal audience, and we went down really brilliantly.
Nice.
So I think that really, and I'm always about inclusivity, and the whole night it's like, oh, goth this, goth that, whatever, are you goths then, da da da, we don't know what goth is, but we like what you do, da 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 da. But goth exists in a different cultural space to metal.
Yeah.
And I think that, as you guys say, yes, different parts of the world. Finland, for example, goth is mainstream as it gets. But America metal is far more embraced, far more wildly by sort of a wider section of the population.
But it's also more watered down.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. I totally agree. But you know, in the UK, metal is not as wild as embraced as it is in other countries, but it's still far bigger than it exists differently. It exists different world, different paradigmatical view. But I say we've done a lot of metal festivals, and we've been treated really, really well, and went down really, really well, and we're still in contact with loads and loads of metal bands. You know, it's all about connecting up. I'm about that, whether it's within goth or in wider society. It's all about the people's voice, and in connecting up and supporting each other.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, say, bands like Nosferatu. They're so close to metal, it's not funny.
Yeah. Depends which version of Nosferatu, but obviously there's the not
true.
You know.
You can say that about Shock. But they're very nice.
But that's fine. I mean, I think that, you know, one of the great things about goth, right, is everybody puts their own spin on it.
Yeah.
Everybody puts their own spin on it. And I think that as long as you, I mean, it's a bit weird. It's like I'm gonna get a bit poncy and academic for a second or two now, if you don't mind. One of the foundations of my thesis to try to explain what goth is. I mean, there's a whole bit where I talk about it on and on and on. But one of the things I use is that we all intuitively know what goth is. We don't really need it to be explained. However, if we were to explain it, I'm going to use something. One of my favourite philosophers is a philosopher called Wittgenstein. And he came up with this thing called family resemblance, which I've used in my thesis over and over again. He talks about family resemblance. What that means is that if you was to draw 5 faces on a blackboard, you'd have one that would have a bald head, one would have a beard, one would have long hair, one would be smiling, one would not be smiling, etc., etc. They're all different, but there's something about them that's the same. And that's kind of like what goth is. We all know intuitively in our hearts what it is. We all have an understanding, but it is slightly different, but there's a core. And this is why, going back to Joe, what I was saying earlier on, is there's something different about goth. People come back to it. They kind of know what it is, as long as people stick to, well, I mean, obviously there's various things, oh, it's this, it's that. But I think instinctively we all know what it is, and we can add stuff to it. And goth embraces stuff. I mean, you know, there's all sorts of stuff on a lot of the American sites where people say, you know, the keys to the kingdom are open. You just have to sort of come in and literally say, at the core, and I'm going to say this, is music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The core of goth is music.
100%.
Yeah. And end of the day, when people say I don't like gothic music, I'm very suspicious, because you've got gothic hip hop, gothic metal. You've got this. There's something for everyone, which is the whole damn point of goth, is that there's a family resemblance. Remember I said to you about Wittgenstein, that goes off in different directions, but at its core, there's something that's recognizable.
Oh, what was I going to say? Bloody forgot now.
It's all right, mate.
Yeah, that was it. How do you see London scene compared to Northern?
To be honest with you, I'm completely out of touch with the London scene now.
I don't blame.
I haven't been out in the scene in London. Oh God, probably since before.
Okay,
COVID.
how about the difference between them back in the day?
Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, in my thesis, there's a whole section about this.
Because let's be honest, the Batcave got all of the spotlight, and
Leeds is the first goth.
the North, in particular Leeds, got none.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about that one. Now, what I will say about London, and I do like London. I think London scene has got a lot to offer. Okay, so let's be clear about that. However, the Batcave did exist for very long, and also they didn't play that much gothic music at the Batcave.
No.
If you see,
Just gonna change my shirt.
if you see photographs of the Batcave, the ones that aren't trying to push forward the agenda that it's this goth thing, people were just wearing fairly, I'd say, normal clothes, really.
I think one of the main reasons it took off is because certain
London
people that became big within Goth's history attended there.
Yes, that's right. But
That's the
also,
only real reason.
I think there's another reason why Batcave became focal point. Okay, this goes back to the North-South divide, and also what I've said in my thesis, and I'll stand by this, is that London has a unique clubby culture which varies over time. That doesn't really exist anywhere else. It's what I refer to as a London clubby culture. And it kind of goes through different things. And you could say that the Batcave was just an element of that, really. London clubbiness, I will call it. And so you've got the London clubbiness. And as you say, Joe, absolutely correct. Sex Fiend, Specimen, etc., all were involved with that. And good luck to them, good bands. You know, I like Sex Fiend particularly. But the thing is a case of parallel evolution. But the reason why the Batcave has been so lauded by various people is because it's based in London. The press is based in London. Music industry.
They made that big sort of video you can find online about it. You don't see much about the scene up north.
Yeah, it's like kind of television. UK television is all was based in London predominantly. Yeah. The music press all based in London. The radio stations, guess what? All based in London. You know, and so all the journalists, they very rarely. We have this term in England called Planet London. There's a lot of people who live in London that just never leave because everything comes to London.
Yeah.
And they call it Planet London. There's a lot of people in London that think the north start at the end of the tube.
The only exception seems to be when Whitby's on.
Yeah, Whitby. Oh, that's a case.
Because people go up there to photograph the freaks.
Yes, let's not. Yes, yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And most people I know are not happy with that. But what can you do? This is an example of commodification destroying something.
Yeah.
However, it still exists. There's still an underground goth element. We played Whitby just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But over on the east coast, west coast of the UK, Morecambe is where the real scene is moving. Anyway, nice. So let's talk about the Batcave. So we've also got North-South divide. You've got class that's involved as well. And in the UK, there is this North-South divide. And I think that really, you know, I mean, honestly, literally, I could be here all day talking about this. And I think that really there's a combination of different views, prejudices, we'll say, is that some people from London perceive the North as being this strange country that's not, not like us whatsoever. They speak funny up there and all that kind of stuff, and people wear more clothes, they've got less money, blah blah blah. And I think that really, to put it in a nutshell, if you want to really to hone it right down, Leeds was really genuine and authentic, in my opinion, and it still is. Leeds is still the home of goth now, in my opinion. They've always been Chaos Bleak, have always done really well in Leeds, as has Every New Dead Ghost, etc., etc. Suspiria, you can imagine, did really well in Leeds. But I think that really, you've got this north-south divide. You've also got this class thing as well that goes on. And I don't want to say too much about this because we literally will be here all day. But I think that there was class and regional conflict, which has actually helped to make UK goth what it is. Actually, I think the two classes. Do you want to know my opinion? The two classes revolve around each other, and one feeds into the other, and one helps the other. North-south divide. It's the same thing. So you've got the scene in London is very different. It's more clubby orientated, whereas the scene in the north is more band orientated. If you want to make it simple.
I've found London to be very cliquey when I've been there in clubs and stuff. That people don't.
That's one of the things that comes from my thesis.
Oh, really?
However, there has been people in the London scene in the past who've been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, there are.
So, really.
What about Slime?
But I don't know. Slimelight, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the nights used to happen at the Marquee, and then Sacrosanct was based in London. Fantastic festival. But the thing is that obviously the people from outside the UK won't understand this north-south divide thing, and they won't understand class thing either. I mean,
I get it because I know a few people that live up north that have talked about it.
The way you speak, the language you use. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm for example, right, I am working class. I'm from the Midlands, which is traditionally the north, but the people in London would consider it to be the frozen wasteland. Whereas, people from the north think that I'm not northern because I'm Midlands.
Yeah.
So I'm working class and I'm northern.
Even though we speak with a northern accent, we're like a dial.
I mean, at the moment, as Dean pointed out, I speak in quite a posh Nottingham accent. That's because of my mum coming from Cheshire. I've picked that accent up. But I actually was born and brought up in a really, really tough council estate. For those of you who don't know what council estate means, it's like the projects. For those of you who are Americans, it's like the projects. It's the closest. It's not quite the same. It's the closest thing. So I grew up in there, and I left school with no qualifications whatsoever. I basically am a self-made person. So we've got, there's a lot of talk in UK goth that goth is middle class. I think that, yes and no. I think all music is ultimately in the UK middle class based, as in, However, there's also been a strong working class element, and and I think you can explore all the different tracks, but if you boil it all down, I think that the two classes feed into each other. I think the very simply put, authentic northern working class values feed into middle class aspirational and values, and the two.
But then you also have high class people slumming it.
Yeah, you've got all of that going on. But I think that
like Hope's song, Common People, all about that sort of thing.
But yeah, I mean, obviously they're from Sheffield, which is just literally
up the road,
20 miles drive from where I live. So 20 minutes drive from where I live.
The irony is, the best version of that song is William Shatner's. And he's not, I wouldn't call him working class at all.
No.
Yet he's got the right venom in the vocals to make it work.
But the working, I mean, I'm very, very much, because obviously ultimately I'll be on the, I am a man of the left. So I believe in a lot of people try and sweep class distinctions in the UK under the carpet. It's embarrassing, let's not talk about it. But basically, the way you speak in the UK, where you live in the UK, the way you eat, your values are all based.
You go 10 miles down the road, it's a completely different accent.
Yeah, I mean, in some
cases
here where I am now, I mean
that's unheard of where I am.
I know, and it's the same as in America. I mean, but in the UK, literally, the Nottingham dialect is different to where I live here. Where I live now, I mean, obviously, I've got a mixture of dialects, but the traditional dialect for Annesley is an old miners dialect, and I can I can use it when I want to.
Oh, okay.
I mean, me and Dean have a laugh. Help you all through it. We're talking in dialect early on, and I can switch into it when I like, if you know what I mean. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I can speak with dialect, you know, and I can. With even words are class based. Like for
code switch. Switch for who?
Sorry, say again. Sorry.
We code switch for who we're speaking to. I've noticed.
That's right, and people can do that. I mean, obviously,
because we don't have to. We have to change the way we speak when we speak to down south.
Correct. Correct.
South.
Otherwise, we won't understand you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like kind of, you know, and when I'm in an academic environment down south, I start speaking kind of a lot more like this, if that's okay. Well, actually, you know, I still refuse to, you know, I say pass rather than pass.
Yeah, I don't do that.
That's, you know,
I don't.
No,
elongate my A's and my.
No, I know. There's a bit of a joke that me and Piers have because he's from the south and he says bath and pass and all that kind of stuff and don. Because that's
you probably don't hear it, but where I am in Adelaide, South Australia, we tend to speak with a bit of a posh English accent.
Yeah, I can tell.
I go visit my relatives in Victoria. It's like, you're like a bunch of bloody Poms.
No wrong with that,
but if I talk to someone else, it's like, yeah, he's Australian.
Yeah, but the thing, that's it. I mean, I'm fascinated by accents, by the way, and dialects. And the saddest, I mean, one of the things I'm into is there's words in Nottingham which are dying out, which aren't used anymore, and the words that I grew up with that are specifically Nottingham and South Yorkshire. I mean, Dean will probably know some of them, but a lot of younger people don't even use them anymore. It's because of the effect of southern and American hegemony. It's and
yeah, I was going to say the Americanization.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
everywhere.
You know, it's like, for example, if I was to say to you, the one everybody knows is the word Mardy.
Yeah.
Dean will know that. You guys probably won't know. It means, it's hard to explain it exactly, but it means kind of with a sort of childish,
a strop,
sort of strop, self-entitled. It means all of that, but it's a lot stronger than that.
Wearing a tap.
To be some Mardy. You can call somebody a Mardy arse or a Mard arse.
Yeah.
You know, basically means they're particularly childish and babyish and self-entitled and irritating. It means all of that, and that's kind of still used quite a lot. But there's a load of other words. I
want to bring back Wazzock. That's one.
Wazzock, yes.
No one says that.
Fool or an idiot. Yeah. I mean, there's a word in Nottingham called Leary, which it means with arrogance. It means arrogant. And then there's another famous Nottingham word, sucky, and that means with irritating sweetness. Nobody uses that word anymore. Don't say bloody sucky. Yeah, suck. And then there's elongated A, sucky. Don't say bloody sucky. Not sucky, but sucky. Anyway, I'm boring you, Richard, with talking about the Nottingham dialect.
Nah, you're not boring us at all. It's great.
But I mean, I mean,
hearing a couple of these words, I'm thinking, yeah, some of this stuff kind of carried to Australia.
Yeah, it would have been, yeah.
Influence on, not necessarily with some of the northern language, but a big influence on the Australian accent was Cockney.
Yeah, definitely. You can hear it.
So we do get a bit of rhyming slang in there too, though ours is probably a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely can hear that really strongly. I mean, you know, because it's like it's really weird because the southern Cockney accent is the one that's had the most influence on the Australian accents. Quite interesting. I mean, I'm not quite sure with the American accent.
Well, it's because all the convicts were Cockney.
There's plenty of convicts from around here. There's at the Nottinghamshire jail. There's a whole load of. There's yeah, you've seen it, haven't you, Dean? Yeah. There's a lot of people from Nottingham got exported to Australia. In fact, there's a really sad film, actually, if you ever get a chance to see it, called Origins of the Sunshine. And they were exporting, I don't know if you know this, Joseph, but one of the great shames of the UK is that the children that were unwanted were exported to Australia as late as the 1970s.
What do you?
And there's a film, check it out. It's called Origins and Sunshine.
On I don't know if it'll be of interest, called £10 Pies.
Yeah, I know about that one. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Yeah, but check out Oranges and Sunshine because it's kind of quite shocking. what came up, because basically,
I'll have to look
yeah,
into
because
that.
kids
Yeah.
from Nottingham were sent to Australia on the promise of oranges and sunshine, and when they got there,
Well, they got the sunshine.
they were told they had to pay for their passage, and they never paid it off.
So it was kind of
Indentured
like
servitude.
human trafficking.
Yeah, and it was it was basically. I won't go into it, but if you want to watch it. It'll make you sad, because it was filmed in Nottingham, and some of it was filmed the Nottingham jail, and some of it was filmed in some of the pubs that I go into in Nottingham. Say, for example, the Peacock on Mansfield Road, Dean. Some of the film was shot in that. So yeah, it's called Oranges and Sunshine. Yeah.
We're goths. We enjoy things that make us sad.
It is shocking though. Some of it's filmed in Australia. Some of it's filmed in.
One thing is,
yeah,
dying out is nobody swears the English way anymore. They all do the one.
Yeah,
we used to. No one does
absolutely.
that. And that's really annoying.
Oh, you know, I'm an old man, mate. I'm an elder goth. I still swear the old way.
I was going to say, in regards to, would you say goth origins are completely northern? Concepts like Northern Soul and there's another one, but I forgot.
You should say goth's origins were northern.
Yeah.
I would say it's both London and the north. Liverpool, Leeds mostly, but also the north.
And kind of bouncing off each other.
If I'm being fair, I think that going back to the whole tenet of my thesis is that people work with each other. It's all about thesis and antithesis. It's all the dialectics. It's one thing works. I don't think it's a straightforward thing. I think that whatever works survives, and I think that the authenticness of 90s goth is founded in the north and the south. But you could argue that its ultimate core is in the north. But I think the north and the south and the working class and middle class. I think they both.
Would you say, with the new thing of people dressing goth, not listening to the music, was that a thing in the 90s and prior?
No.
Yeah, I knew that.
No, because
you did sometimes get people in the clubs here who they seemed to only be there to dress up and that, but if they didn't like the music, they wouldn't keep coming back.
Precisely, Joe. I mean, in the 90s, that was not a thing at all.
And you could tell
because back in the 90s, I mean, Joe just coming into the scene at that time, but in the UK, the goth scene was seriously under attack. This is what I've written a paper about this. It was seriously under mainstream attack, and it got quite nasty and violent. And so to be in the goth scene was an act of just to look goth, to wear makeup. I used to wear makeup during the day when I was a young pretty boy. I used to wear makeup during the day, and you had to be tough back then, mate. The goth was ahead of the curve. With all the transgenderism coming now,
it was subversive.
We were doing that in 93, 94, even the late 80s. I knew people who were wearing full-on, they were into the Virgin Prunes, wearing the full-on skirts and dresses in the day, in the late 80s and 90s.
Fucking hell.
Late 80s and early 90s. And so the scene has always been about inclusivity. It's always been about sort of pushing the boundaries. I mean,
and it's always been a safe space for queer people.
You've got it in one. That's possibly why people, Joe, went to the club, is that they felt safe there, mate.
Yeah.
And the Carnival of Souls, we had a very clear policy of people, you either dressed up or you weren't getting in. We didn't care if you got a ticket, you're out. And also no cameras, and you respect women. If you start trying to curve on women, you're out.
Yeah.
You dress up the same as everybody else. We're all wearing rubber and leather and PVC. You're not just coming in your chinos with your camera no. We all dress up, and that's how it is. Carnival of Souls was based on a level playing field for everyone, and that's one of the things about goth: inclusivity, respect, safe space. You've got it in one, Joe.
2 songs, Joe and Mystic, back to back.
Okay, shall I do mine first?
Meg's me.
Oh, I thought we'd bored you off.
Sorry, had to run and get something.
Oh, bless you.
Ugh. No, I was listening.
Oh, you do yours first, and I'll do mine.
Okay. Mine is Gardens of Delight by Spirit Lovers.
Go the other way around. Still Lovers by Garden of Delight.
Oh, sorry.
This is what happens when you use Spotify too often.
Spirit Lovers by Garden.
Right. I do that.
Sorry.
He's tired.
I am. I'm exhausted.
I do that all the time. I'm always, because I'm dyslexic, I'll always get things mixed up all the time, so don't worry about that.
Alright.
Gothquisition.
Yeah,
I'll get Danny Ashes.
Alright, so this is Spirit Lovers by Gardens of Delight.
Take me lovers, take me away to a higher way. We are spirit lovers, take me away to a higher way. We are spirit lovers, take me away, away, away. I will pray and sway this year fair, but next year in heaven I will pray and sway my last will, bury me in the nameless grave.
Well, wasn't that a great song? Now it's time for
Jack.
another one, you lucky, lucky listeners. And of course, we're featuring Nightbreed throughout the entire show, so it's going to be more Nightbreed. This one is from the Gothic Sounds of Nightbreed, Volume 2. And it's the opening track, Faithful Dawn with She Falls Down.
What a great band.
Oh yeah.
I'm still in contact with them now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You know the band, I don't know if you know the band Augur. You know the band Augur over in...
Augur. Oh, that sounds so familiar.
Right, well, Augur, Kyle, is Sarah Jane from Faithful Dawn's son.
Oh, wow.
It's in the family.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, absolutely. And Glenn, he's not involved in music anymore, but Sarah Jane's son.
Very nice.
Absolutely brilliant. And Sarah Jane Novus UK, the band that she's in now are really good as well.
I was just looking at the questions.
Oh, I think I know why I got mixed up, Dean.
Yeah, that's on me.
Dean.
I copied it wrong.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
You copied it from Spotify, didn't you?
It happens.
I copied it because I typed it out the wrong way earlier.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Spotify, as you can probably tell.
No, it's a necessary evil, though, Joe. I'm agree with you on that one. It's a necessary evil.
Yeah, Bandcamp is a great equalizer, though.
Yeah, like I say, Bandcamp can work, but people these days are just so well served.
I do wish.
But as a DJ, I want the MP3. I don't want to stream.
I do want.
Yeah.
I do wish that Bandcamp would do public playlists instead of just like.
That would be good. Yeah.
That would probably put Spotify in a tight spot. To be honest.
And it would help so many bands out.
It would.
It would.
I was going to say, Trev, you should talk about your playlists that you're doing on Spotify.
Oh, good. Well, yeah. Basically, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've kind of not updated it recently. I'm just so pulled in different directions. But when Nightbreed Radio finally closed, I thought to myself, well, what can I do to keep on supporting new bands? So I created basically a playlist on Spotify.
Nice.
And I've done several actually. I've done a 90s goth one, I've done an 80s goth one, whatever. And obviously I've done new goth.
You do one for Baby Bats as well, or am I wrong?
What's Baby Bat? Oh, that.
Oh.
I'm going to say it here right now. That term never existed. That's an American,
it never existed.
Term.
Exactly.
A made-up American term.
Somebody once. People have tried calling me an elder goth, and I'm like, fucking what?
I don't like that.
I know actual elder goth.
You're 20 years younger than me, mate.
I'm like nowhere near that level. It's like, it's to do with experience. It's like, no, we're all equals.
I have met people who could wipe the floor with quote-unquote older goths with their knowledge of goth, and they're like
exactly
19.
You just never know.
As a YouTuber.
I mean, the playlists of guys, I've actually forgotten. I've just done a quick look. I mean, obviously, I've done the best of the gothic sounds of Nightbreed, which is what it says, does what it says on the tin. I've also done the new Gothic Underground, which I'm trying to promote new bands predominantly there.
Yeah.
One of my favourites is actually the Roots of Goth, or Roots of Gothic Rock, where I actually go pre-goth. Obviously, some of my choices might be a bit contentious, but I stand by them. I think that if you listen to them from a musicological point of view, I think you can hear.
Well, the point of the list, by the sound of it, is what influenced what became goth.
Absolutely bang on. I mean, one of the bands that a lot of people kind of don't really know about, which are on my sort of the roots of Gothic rock playlist, is a band called the United States of America. They just did one album, and there's a track on it called "The Garden of Unearthly Delights." Listen to that. You can hear it's like Jefferson Airplane meets Die Laughing, and it's like kind of, and it was done in the '60s. So there's a few comedic songs in there. There's kind of, I don't know if you know, Dreamy Lord Such, and
nothing wrong with a bit of comedy.
Absolutely. I mean, people think Goths are miserable, but they're not.
There's always been a bit of self-depreciating, tongue-in-cheek elements to a lot of Gothic music.
And I've done a few others as well. I've done sort of like kind of post-punk thing, but my favourite ones is the new Gothic Underground, Gothic Sounds of Nightbreed, and the Roots of Gothic Rock. And obviously I've done a Chaos Bleak one and everything else, but I don't like Spotify particularly, Joe, which is why I don't bother with it that much. But what I do is every now and again I'll update the playlist, and I'll say anything new they want me to bang in my playlist. And I do. There's people, stuff like the Byronic Sex and Exiles in there, and Jan Dawes Band. And go on then, mate.
I've got something new for you. Local Adelaide band, the Coldfield.
Coldfield. Not heard of them.
They're like they have they feel like Joy Division, but they don't sound like Joy Division.
Oh wow!
I've just been to see them recently.
That sounds really
twice
good, Joe.
live.
I'd like that.
They're really cool. I should shoot you the link for their Bandcamp.
Yeah, mate, that'd be fantastic if you could. But here's one for you. Did you know I actually seen Joy Division live?
No.
I'm one of the very few people that you'll ever meet or ever know. You may not ever meet me in the flesh. Dean has several times. I saw Joy Division at the Nottingham Playhouse, Dean.
The best I could do was Peter Hook and the Light.
Fantastic, though. He did a good job.
But they were still fantastic shows.
Yeah,
I love how they had Hookie's son on the bass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And he's sort of taken Ian's role as the singer.
Oh,
I saw him when they did the Unknown Pleasures tour, which was the first one they did. And unfortunately, they had us watching it in the theatre, and everyone was just itching to get up and dance, but we're stuck in our seats.
Oh, wow. I saw Joy Division. They were supporting. I went to see John Cooper Clarke, and I've told this story 1,000 times, and it's worth telling again. I was only young. I was only I think I was 18, and I bought a ticket to go see John Cooper Clarke with an ex-girlfriend. Well, she was my girlfriend at the time. I bought it for her birthday. I think it was February time. I think it would have been, God, would have been 79. I think it would have been. And what happened is that I'd bought this ticket for me and her. We'd split up, but we got this ticket, so we agreed to go and see John Cooper Clarke at the Nottingham Playhouse. And so I went along, and basically what happened is John Cooper Clarke came on, and I thought, bloody hell, he's on early. And he just did a few poems. And then this band set up. They didn't even announce who they were. I thought, who the bloody hell is this band? Anyway, they sort of set up and everything else. And they're very minimalist. And they had a synth. I thought, that's good. I like synths and stuff. And the singer was doing all this kind of hand jive stuff. And what's really right is
Ian
this.
Curtis being Ian Curtis.
Absolutely. But obviously, it was much more frenzied. The audience, about half of them really hated them.
Oh.
And they were throwing things at them. No. And I thought to myself, actually, I really like these. These remind me a bit of Hawkwind. Hawkwind being one of my favourite bands. I really like these. I like what they've done. I like the bass. I like them. I thought, these are fucking brilliant. These are. And I thought to myself, I wish these idiots would shut up because I want to hear them. And anyway, what it was, I thought to myself, you know what? What would be really strange, right? If this band they're watching now, if they got really famous, because you never know, they might get really famous. Yep. And you lot are all calling them now, they're going to say, oh yeah, I was there and they're amazing. And I'm thinking, and I know that you didn't like them.
Yeah.
And what happened was they played the set, right? And then they went off and John Cooper Clarke came on. And about 3 months later, I kept hearing about this band called Joy Division. And I was listening to the John Peel show late at one night, and they played a song. I think it was Living in the Ice Age. I went, that's a band I saw. And I can tell you now, do you know what's really weird? I was 19 years old, right? Mm-hmm. And I can now tell you a lot of the songs that they played. And I can tell for sure, they played She's Lost Control, because I know this because the chords are very similar to Silver Machine by Hawkwind. Mm-hmm. There's a one chord different. And I went, wow, this is a bit like Silver Machine. And it was She's Lost Control. They played Shadow Play. They played Living in the Ice Age. And they played New Dawn Fades. And what was the other one they did? Day of the Lords. Mm-hmm. And they did Disorder.
Yep.
And they also did some Warsaw songs. Oh, they didn't do Love Will Tear Us Apart because it was before that.
Yeah.
But that's what I can remember that they did. I mean, I only saw them once. And I saw, and I used to think to myself, you know what? You never know, this band may just get famous. And I was right.
They were only around for a very short time too, unfortunately.
They were. They really were.
And then they became New Order.
Which I also like.
Yeah. Oh, New Order are great.
They're a very different band. Seen them live just once.
It would have been interesting to see what would have happened, though. Would they have become New Order in sound anyway if Ian was still around?
Because don't forget, I mean,
they're evolving that way.
Yeah, they did. So was it Ceremony, which is very. Joy Division used to do Ceremony.
Yeah, and that's like a mix between sort of a bridge in between.
And I think and sort of and I think that Ceremony, which I think is fantastic. And I think Joy Division's version is good,
It's weird though, because nobody sounded like them for a long time.
Yeah.
Then you've got all these modern bands taking inspiration.
Yeah, a lot of stick. They got a lot of stick thrown their way. I mean, I honestly, by all the punk rockers who were the comments in the audience who had all your, requisite punk rock patches, Joy Division were aliens from another planet, and they're all very grey. Joy Division,
Yeah.
you remember they were very grey, very dour, and and then was this mental.
They looked like the people that the punks were raging against.
Yeah,
in some ways.
and
But they were working
Curtis
class.
was something else to say. I was 19 years old and it left an impression. I'm now 64 years old.
Was that
I can
Wow.
still remember
was that back
gig,
when they
mate, like
before
it was
they
yesterday.
changed their name? They were still okay.
No, they were definitely Joy Division then. I found out subsequently that they were called Joy Division then, but they never said the name.
Yep.
They just got up and played.
Yeah. I mean, I looked because I went and found some Joy Division thing, and they actually listed the. So I couldn't remember, and I thought it was in February because that was my ex girlfriend's birthday. Was in February, and we went on her birthday. So I thought it's February, and it was at the Playhouse. And I think I tracked it down, and it was It's under Joy Division
Damn.
gigs.
So I've got to ask, because it is a big point of contention on the internet and with
Go on.
goths in general. Now, I've always seen Joy Division as a post-punk band, and they're fine as a post-punk band. Goths still like them. They've got a lot of appeal outside the subculture too. But you've got a lot of people that say they're a goth band. What do you think?
They're not a goth band. I mean, I'm gonna push the boat even further. I'm gonna say goth didn't really become goth until the 90s anyway.
There's a great point.
I kind of agree.
Because, and I'll explain this in my thesis.
So going by that logic, Sisters of Mercy's first goth album was Vision Thing.
Ugh.
Pipe bomb.
Oh well, I like Vision Thing, but nobody knows it. But Sisters of Mercy. I think that really my point of it is if you was to ask any of those bands, I mean, I've done interviews and stuff which haven't been published by various magazines because I didn't say what they wanted me to say. They said, "Oh, we'll think the 80s was the best year for time for God." No, it wasn't. I think the 90s was, because that's when the scene owned the term.
Remember,
They owned the term. And I think.
I remember.
Sorry.
I remember reading an old interview with you. I don't remember when it was, but they asked you if Marilyn Manson was goth.
No, I said no.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no disrespect to any of these people. I mean, it's like kind of my view is that if you embrace the culture and embrace the ethos, and then I think that really you are goth, really. But I think Manson, he isn't goth.
Nah.
It's metaler. He'll tell you that himself. But the thing is, I think that Joy Division, I think the way to see it is going back to the point I made earlier on in this conversation, is that one thing feeds into the other. There's a conflict, there's a resolution, and it goes on. Dialectical approach. And I think that really Joy Division is part of the DNA of goth.
Yeah.
And I love Joy
And
Division.
they're extremely relevant.
Oh God,
to
yeah.
goth.
I don't think you can talk about goth without talking about Joy Division. And equally, I think you can't talk about goth.
No, yeah, exactly.
No.
But a band doesn't have to be a goth genre band to still have an impact on the scene.
No, you can't talk about goth without talking about soft cell.
Yeah.
I mean, Martin, for example, you can't talk about
Fat Gadget.
Bad Gadget. Absolutely. I think you can't also. I mean, I know this is contentious, but I think you can't talk about goth without talking about Black Sabbath, because obviously it fed into the DNA of goth. Because if you talk to anybody from the Leeds legacy scenes, they're into Motorhead, Hawkwind, Hair Rupert, Joy Division, The Door.
Motorhead are kind of the great equalizer.
Yeah, the pumpkin.
Sort of like punks love them.
Yeah, they are.
Goths love them. The metalheads love them.
Extreme rockers love them. But it's if you was to talk to any of these legacy bands, they'll talk about I mean, for example, Susie and the Banshees, they were into stuff like Can,
Nina.
and a lot of the stuff that was coming out of Germany, sort of stuff like Tangerine Dream, whatever. I mean, it's like kind of krautrock, yeah. But I mean, obviously, people like Susie Sue was talking particularly about, and stuff like there's everybody's a mixture of things. Everybody's a mixture, which is why I say this is why I've always gone back down to the Wittgenstein family resemblance thing. Is what it is, but it's all different. something that exhibits face.
It's like when I'm DJing, I don't care about genres. I'm worrying about what the crowd is into and what's going to work. I mean, when I play my next song,
I think that there's lots. I mean, I think that goth it's got something else to it than other things. I think it's because of the literary thing, and it's got that element, and it's got the sort of films and contemporary programs. It's got all sorts of stuff. It's also one other thing about goth is it's intellectual.
Yes. Oh, very much so.
Whereas, I mean, what I liked about Eldritch, I mean, I know that he is very famously said he's not a goth. Good luck to him. But whether he liked it or not, he's added to it.
So many people back then said they weren't a goth anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I know a few people do weekends now.
To be honest, up until about 10 years ago, I wouldn't have called myself one either. And it was mainly because...
Oh, I always did.
We just weren't in the 90s or in the late 90s in particular, because you had all Manson and that all coming up trying to co-opt the word, as I call it, the dreaded G word, the label that all these kids want, but they don't want to do anything to get. And it's, no matter how goth you think you are, everyone else is going to have a different opinion.
Totally. I mean, the thing is, this is the great thing about goth. It's inclusive, it's varied, and I think that as I said very early on in this conversation, is I think that you take any musical genre, goth has got more. In fact, it's pretty easy to say what isn't goth than what is. I mean, this is the famous, the author Gavin Badley said this, and he's correct. He's right.
Well, that's the thing. Just because something explores dark themes doesn't make it automatically goth.
Precisely. And also because a goth band does a happy song doesn't make it mean it's not goth. I mean, but I think that I mean, I'm sort of, but I do think that ultimately its core, there is an identifying characteristic which is intuitive, ephemeral, like Wittgenstein's face thing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's it for me. I mean, and I think that also I think it's part of what I referred to in the bit. It's not been in my thesis. The human condition. Fear of death, attraction to dark things, fear of the unknown, attraction to the unknown is also part of that. And I think that it's a primal thing. It's something that mankind has done ever since it started looking up at the stars and wondered what those twinkly lights were. What is it? They say they create various mythologies to explain stuff away, or not, as the case may be. And also, this fear of understanding the implications of parallel world theories, quantum mechanics and stuff like that, which is something I'm very much into, and the idea that a particle can exist at the same time in two different places. It's all to do with that. It's the human condition, and
it's part of the intellectualism.
Yes, and I think that going back to Eldritch, and I think one of the things I liked about Eldritch is because he made it okay in post-punk to be intellectual.
Yeah.
To consider things. Now, I've talked to Mick about this, and he said one of the things he loved about Andy Sexgang is Andy Sexgang would talk about all kinds of stuff that he'd never heard of. And he said, his very words were he'd go wittering on about it for hours. And he loved it. And he said, what I like about goth is that it has that extra layer of dimension, that intellectualism, that questioning. If you look at goth songs, right? If you want to analyse goth songs, they exist on many different levels. I mean, as much as I love punk rock, and don't get me wrong, I do love punk rock, it doesn't exist on many different levels.
I've noticed only one thing that goths don't sing about, and that's history. And that's because...
I think you're wrong.
Yeah?
There's loads about history. There's if you delve into lots of different goth songs, it's there,
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if you it's not obvious. I mean, it's there. I mean, it's talking about. I mean, obviously, they talk about philosophy. They talk about science. They talk about obviously
I'm a war historian, but you don't get things like Sabbath.
It's not obvious. Yeah. It's not obvious.
Well,
you have to look.
More of an industrial thing.
I noticed it in Dominion.
They tend to explore those themes a lot more than what goth does.
I noticed in Dominion, and that's why I really like that song, because those lyrics are inspired. Is it Mother Russia? Actually, Mother Russia, Dominion.
I can't reveal the game, give the game away, but some bands I've been in have definitely talked about history, the lyrics.
You just don't do it in an obvious way.
But it's not
like punk,
language.
which is in your face with it.
No. I mean, obviously we talked about Joy Divisions. I've travelled far and wide in many different times. That's in there, and you get those kind of things referring to the past, but it's more symbolic, and goth is about symbolism,
introspective,
as being direct.
Okay.
Punk is about direct, stop this now, whereas goth will ask questions.
Yeah.
If you don't listen to a goth song and don't come away with as many questions, I mean, for example, again, this is in my mind, Matt is a great lyricist. He covers so many different things in one Suspiria song. One Suspiria song, it's got so many lyrics. I mean, to be honest with you, with Midnight Configuration, I hardly wrote any lyrics. I kept them very simple because I couldn't remember them. Whereas Matt, it's like kind of War and Peace. I went, bloody hell, Matt. And he went, oh, yes, yeah, it has to be about this, But he is a great lyricist. Just look at his lyrics. Just look at Now I see the Swine Upon the Altar, which is what we've already mentioned already. I mean, I don't know exactly what his songs are about. I don't. But maybe I'll ask him when I see it.
But that's half the fun.
Precisely.
I've got songs that I've done that are like that lyrically as well.
The thing is, I think one of the things about a great song is that
it grabs people and it's like, I don't know what to think.
Precisely.
It's weird, and they either love it or they hate it.
Yeah. But I think that really...
I like weird.
I do.
That's just... Yeah, absolutely.
I do. And I think
a lot of the other music I listen to is definitely within that weird vein.
I think that really, one of the great things about music and lyrics and everything else is that it should leave you asking questions, pondering.
Yeah.
And also, one of the things that I'm very much into, this is kind of getting more into my, music that we do, is I think music should be transportative and transcendental. I think it should take you to different places in your mind without the use of drugs. It should be parochial. I think it should also be asking questions. I mean, like I was saying to Dean, without giving the game away, because I don't like to explain songs too much. I don't mind giving the odd bit away,
no.
But I know for an absolute fact we've talked about
it's art. It's meant to be interpreted.
Yeah, there's definitely, for example, I mean, I'll say one song. The song by Arcane Winter, Christmas Day in the Workhouse, that is purely based on Dickinsonian concepts of working class oppression during the Industrial Revolution. Workhouses are mentioned and everything. So it's like kind of, that's the only one I'll give away. It's also saying that it's an allegory for what's actually happening now too.
Yeah, I was about to say that it can apply to today as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think
good songs are timeless.
It's like kind of this, I think that this is one thing I think sets goth aside is, I mean, Mick was talking about it. He says goth makes you think.
Yep.
He said the thing is with goth is you can come back to it over and over and over again and never get bored. There's always something else you've missed, always a new perspective or a new sound or a new thing.
And there's always a new band.
Yeah, who's got a different perspective.
Because how many of us have got gaps of stuff that's even old as well as new?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's that much. There's over 40 years worth at this point.
Music tracks, sorry.
Right, yeah.
It's mine, I believe. Everyone's done 2?
Yep.
At least 2.
Yeah, I've done 2.
I've done 2.
Yeah, okay, it's my turn then. I will be doing Lupine's Broken Wings.
So
Excellent.
And you can hear the Black Sabbath in that one.
Do you know I produced that?
Yeah.
I mixed and mastered that. I produced actually produced that Broken Wings.
Bloody hell, it's a good song.
I can see Heaven's Gate 1,000 miles away. Yeah, I can. I actually produced all of that album.
I'd say the vocal it's basically goth, Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, I think to be honest, that's Lupine's finest hour as well. That album, you know.
Yeah, they still about.
Lemmy's he's had different versions of the band, and I think there's various things happening in his life where I think he's not doing music for the time being.
Ah, fair enough. That's sad.
How many goth bands though are basically one person and they change lineups over the years? There's a lot.
Well, Lupine is Lemmy is Lemmy, basically.
Yeah.
There's been different lineups, and also what you may not have known, Dean, is that the bass on that album, it's just got in my head, the one I produced, is got Nick Hopkinson, who used to be the guitarist in Midnight Configuration, on bass.
Oh dear, you swap. You swap out a lot of music.
And I produced it, and I recorded it, produced it.
Nice.
In the Nightbreed studio. Some of it was done at the studio that I had at college when I worked at South Nottingham College when I was head of music technology. We recorded some stuff there. Some of it was done in my home studio, the Nightbreed studio.
I'm trying to figure out how many albums you've actually not made, but you've been in. I think it's got to be at least 30.
Oh, no idea. I've never counted.
Midnight Configuration has like 10, don't they, on their own?
I don't know. I don't counted them. There's been different releases as well. There's been a Russian release of Sepulchre Rose, which had some extra tracks on it, and then there was versions of Kissing Skull and whatever. I'm not sure. I'll have to sit down and work them all out. It's probably 30 at least.
Discogs probably has them all there.
They probably know more than I do. I
love Discogs. It's just great for learning.
Do you want
discographies? I mean, that's what it's for.
Well, to be fair, Joe, sometimes I forget what year I did things, and I actually have to go look it up in Discogs.
Yeah.
To find out what I did. That, you know.
Well, I've had a few CDs that I've put entries up for because no one ever has.
Wow.
So and some of it was like in the 2000s.
Wow.
And I was quite surprised. It's like, no one's done this. So, I'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put some photos of the work of the artwork and everything on there. Dang, done. A lot of people now too are because I moderate Goth on Reddit.
Yeah.
We get a lot of people asking, "Have you got the lyrics to this song for blah blah blah?" I go through my CD collection, find it. There's the lyrics, but no one put them online anywhere.
Yeah.
So take a couple of scans, send them some photos. Like, here you go.
I think, yeah.
Funny story. Trev, you may have actually heard a very shit recording of one of my bands like 15 years ago. Because we have a mutual friend we went to school with, and her brother, I'm going to say the name, but I'll bleep it out post-production. Do you know a man?
Yes. Very well.
Went to school with his sister. And her brother, Matt, apparently showed you, I think, a very shit demo of one of our stuff that was taken from a live recording. Well, I don't know if it was you personally, but I said to me, were you wearing? Said the person who managed Mortiis in Nottingham, and I was like, who else could it be? All I know is that you did something with Mortiis.
Oh,
but
no,
other than that,
Mortiis tried to earache.
Oh, did
and
they?
I was friends with Digby Pearson, and the gentleman who put his name you mentioned, he did some album covers for Midnight Configuration. He did Dark Hours of the Southern Cross, Redemption of the Physical World, and then some years later he did Parallel Worlds. But he actually got a job at Earache doing the artwork, and I think he it may have possibly been I'm not going to say his name either, the chap who ran Earache, who I was also good friends with. But I didn't know Mortiis personally, but I was involved with when he was signed to Earache and when they were going to release the album The Smell of Rain. I got a phone call from Earache saying, can you come down and listen to this, Trev, and tell us what it is, because we're not sure. And so basically I listened to it and I went, well, this is goth, basically. This is electro goth, and this sounds very much like the Australian band One, who did an album called Walk the Mercy Mile, which I think is a great album, by the way. And I said, this reminds me of One, Walk the Mercy Mile. So I was brought in as a kind of a help consultant, and I said, and they said, well, how can we market this? And I said, well, we've got our own, obviously, earache have got vast resources and contacts. And I said, well, we don't know about the gothic side. And so I said, contact these people, and hopefully, as we know, it went on and did quite well.
Yeah.
And as a thank you, I got a track for Gothic Effing Sounds of Nightbreed volume for Mortiis as a thank you. Well, not from Mortiis, but from the record label.
I thought you were the only one in Nottingham, to be fair. I didn't know.
No. Earache Space Nottingham. And the gentleman whose name you're going to blush out, worked at Earache, who I knew very well. Nice guy. I think he's moved away from Nottingham now.
Yeah, it's small.
But he might have been the other gentleman who ran Earache that he might have showed.
Yeah, it was fucking. He said he liked it apparently, but it was the worst recording. It was like a recording from a video camera that I'd made into a and put on MySpace. It still exists. It's shit, but I was just wondering if it was Nightbreed or not.
No, to the best of my knowledge, it wasn't Nightbreed. From what you just told me, I think it was almost certainly Earache.
Yeah, that makes more
sense. It's all right.
Here's a question. What is the best goth club night you've been to?
That's a good question. Rock City, hands down, back in the 80s.
All right. It's not a goth club now. It's not even a rock club.
It was then. I mean, they did actually come back to goth. They sort of load of fantastic all-dayers. Suspiria played one New Year's Eve, and that was a brilliant show, that was. But for me, I'm very, very nostalgic about, it used to be called the Alternative Night. For Alternative Night, we Goth Night. And people came from all over the country, and it was 500 to 1,000 people every Saturday night, and it was the most wonderful.
Wow.
You will not.
I had the greatest time, gentlemen. Yeah. I was young. I was single, and so I had a lot of good time.
It's all dark.
That was my favourite. So for me, that was the greatest goth club for me. Hands down.
You're never going to get 1,000 people in a goth night now. Maybe Slime.
Never.
But that would be on different.
No, there isn't Slime right now.
Really?
Have you got some of the questions for me, Dean? Because I wasn't sure if you had some questions.
I did have some questions, but you kind of.
Because I need to go soon. I need to go soon, by the way. So if you could fire some questions, I'll give you some answers now, mate.
The irony.
Quick fire round.
You've actually covered everything without me asking you them.
Well, that's actually either a really good trait or a really bad one. It either means I talk too much or something. I don't know.
Right, you're good.
So, any other questions? As Joe says, quick fire round. Ask me some quick.
I haven't really got anything. To be fair, you've covered pretty much everything.
Okay, so nobody's got any quick fire questions for me then?
I can't think of anything. You've pretty much covered everything. You've done this before.
Yeah.
I've done a few interviews in my time, yeah.
Well, I say the best to...
For a while, though. Most people, not for a long time. I think I can't remember the last one I did. I've done a few few magazines. I think it was with the last interview I did that I remember was with Vive La Rock. But that was initially it was about my time in Every New Dead Ghost and Nightbreed, but they cut the Nightbreed bit out, which is a shame because it's some good. I should publish it online because I've got a transcript of it. It's actually quite interesting. I was talking about how Nightbreed started and everything else.
I'm gonna say there is another interview of you on Cemetery Confessions, which.
Oh yeah, I did that one. Yeah, that was good as well. Yeah.
Which we actually recommend going to as well because you go more into how Nightbreed was formed and whatnot. That's why I kind of.
Yeah, that was a while ago now. And of course, I think on the website I put a bit about that as well. So
yeah.
So maybe have you got any quick fire questions you want to ask me at all?
No, but what?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say I do appreciate it's been fascinating just listening.
Oh yeah.
I'm very worried that we were kind of just over talking you because I have a tendency to talk. You tends to be a lecturer.
No, I'm used to it. I'm used to it with my partner because they talk a lot about music history and I'm more of a listener. I'm not very good at I can put in some input, but I'm not. I don't even write music or play an instrument or anything like that. But it's really nice to listen to, and you listening to people talk about or say that they're gonna write like books and papers on the physiological stuff within it is super interesting to me. I actually just found a creator. I have no idea if you know who this guy is, but he just popped up and he's like labeled as Dr. Goth, and he made like a short TikTok. I know it sounds corny, but he made a short TikTok talking about how he's also writing, like helping to write books, and he's done research.
I don't know him at all.
Yeah, it's just like really cool to listen.
No, I don't know him at all.
But has he been out and experienced subculture?
Yeah, it's just really
learning only gets you so far.
I mean, I've got.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to talking about goth, I've got this thing.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I actually prefer the term counterculture rather than subculture. I know that the term subculture has got a specific Marxist interpretation, and that's fine. I get it. But for me, I prefer the term counterculture because I think that really what goth is, by sheer fact it exists, is it challenges people.
Yeah.
So and I think also the scene exists. I know you still sub is kind of within, but I think that it's counter to a lot of the values of goth have become adopted by mainstream, such as obviously, as we're saying, it's a safe space for people who are gay and everything else, and people who are transgender. Goths were doing that in the late 80s.
Yeah.
You know, it was no big deal. Saturday night at Rock City, no big deal. You know, no big deal. I used to wear, during the day, I used to wear foundation, eyeliner, eyeshadow, and very occasionally even lipstick. I walk around during the day like that. I mean, obviously, I stopped doing that when it became old and ugly.
Yeah.
And you're doing it with a lot less access to cosmetics that people have now.
What do you mean, cosmetic surgery?
No, as in
Makeup.
the makeup you can get now is a lot more widely available.
Oh yeah, it was. We went yet.
Back then, you were pretty much like your white foundation would have been restricted to what you could find at Halloween.
That's what we basically think. In a lot of respects, in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, early 90s, goth was very DIY. I talk about that a lot in my book. And later on, it became more commodified. I mean, there's a real big argument, you know, in goth about the idea that in the 90s, that was the rise of what people refer to as your one-stop goth shops. But it was really weird because at the same time, it was also a time when goth in the mainstream was very much vilified. So it was a bit of a strange duality. It became counterculturally commodified on one hand, but on the other, mainstream vilified. But other people have made the leap to say that really that also wiped out the DIY and the commodification amongst the underground via goth entrepreneurs and everything else helped to fuel the more, how can I put this, I'm trying to think of like a way of saying this, more corporate goth stuff that you were talking about, Joe. People argue that I'm not going to mention the company's names, but it gave birth to that. I mean, in all fairness, I'm more interested in the music and the people and the culture rather than that. Fine, great, wonderful. Goth is what you make it, goth is how you find it.
Yeah. That's the thing about the darkness, it's both seductive and scary.
And that's eternal charm, Joe.
Can you name another city that has 3 goth nights other than Nottingham on comparable size?
Do I know any?
Doesn't exist. I don't.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I know that there was a friend of mine, he lives in America now, but he and I, we talk about the hardcore mechanics of goth, what we've been talking about tonight quite a lot, when he comes over to visit. And he wants to, when he comes back to England, he wants to do a 90s goth night in Nottingham. And he said, people say, how many people will be there? He goes, oh, it's probably just me and Trev. And obviously the rest of my band will be there as well. But the thing is, the 90s has become, and I'm going to go back to this again, it's been slowly pushed aside because people don't realise that the whole of the scene was run on a shoestring. It was very people's thing.
The other thing too is people write off the 90s and go, oh, that's just a bunch of Sisters of Mercy clones.
Oh,
bullshit.
No.
It was so much more.
It was. I mean, honestly, right? Tours of Dartmoor. Fantastic band. Saw him live just once. And sadly, Rudiger's passed away now. They were so good. He has that deep voice. And I mean, yes, they took from it, but they added to it. And obviously the most famous inverted commas sisters clone band, the Merry Thoughts, who I actually think are brilliant, write bloody good songs.
Yeah.
And I mean, come on, Pale Empress isn't the greatest
classic
song that a man could write for a woman. You are my pale empress, my haven in the gale. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I was honoured to have actually discovered Merry Thoughts and brought their music to the UK. Before me, nobody had done it. I discovered them and brought their music over. And I actually also put them on for the first time at Carnival of Souls. And before they came over, there's always rumours it was secretly Andrea Eldritch, and people would ring me up, and experts on music saying, "Oh, I can absolutely say that it's really Andrea Eldritch. I can tell by the vocal inflections." And I'd be laughing to myself because, I knew Marvin Arkham. I'd spoke to him on the phone, and I knew people in Germany that knew him personally. And I was saying, "I hate to burst your bubble, mate, but it really isn't Eldritch."
Maybe if they got the Sisterhood to play.
Oh, I know. I can tell it is. No, it isn't. It isn't. It really is somebody called Marvin Arkham. That isn't his real name, by the way. It's something else, but I can't say what it is. And I said, I don't know, because I'm putting them on at Carnival of Souls in Derby. And nobody believed they really were anything other than the Sisters of Mercy under a secret project. And I was the first person to bring them over to the UK.
Wow.
But I really rate them. But I agree with you, Joe, is that people are not really listening deep enough.
No.
I mean, obviously, people say, "Oh, the Sisters of Mercy, Nephilim copyists." Right. If you listen to something like Catherine's Cathedral, who are, I think, really, they've got prog influences going on. They've got loads of stuff going on in their music. There's so many good bands. The Dark Side Cowboys, another really good band. People say, "Oh, they're just Nephilim," but they're not. There's loads of them. I could just go on and Funhouse, or they're just Mission rebranded. No, there's loads going on. Listen to the music, and that's how music develops. People will take something from the past, mix with it themselves, and then it'll become something new. And that's what happened in the 90s. Yes, it was fairly rarefied, but there was loads of great bands. I mean,
Incubus, Succubus, Dark Alone.
Yeah. God. I'm still friends with Tony and Candy to this day. Still hear from them, still play with them. I mean, Chaos Bleak, we played a show with them a few months ago. They're still doing it, and they're still very famous and active and brilliant band. And they don't sound like anybody else.
I prefer Rosetta Stone over Sisters anyway. You're gonna make that argument, but
I prefer Merry Thoughts out of all of those bands of really comers, and obviously Eyes of the Nightmare. Oh,
I actually prefer Misery Lab to Rosetta Stone, going back to what they were.
Oh, Joe, I've got another story for you, very briefly, because I know we get to the end now. This involves Eyes of the Nightmare Jungle, if you're interested.
Oh, yeah.
Right, the idea, the guy from Eyes of the Nightmare Jungle is a guy called Colin Richardson. Mm-hmm. Colin Richardson was a producer for The Mission, I believe. Certainly, I mean, he was quite active. But he later went on to produce bands like Trivium.
Okay.
He's the metal producer.
Oh, wow.
But his band was Eyes of the Nightmare Jungle. And also, Shadow Dance, I first heard that in 1989. Because what happened was there was a record label based in Driffield. And Driffield was a studio there, and Colin Richardson was involved there. And I went up to meet them to discuss, various things. And they said, "Oh, do you want to come and listen to what we recorded?" And they played me some stuff by a band who are a really underrated band called the Stiff Kittens. They're a very, very underrated Leeds band, very good. They did release a few singles and a few EPs. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, I want you to play some stuff by the guy who does the stuff, produces the stuff. This is Colin Richardson. He played me Shadow Dance." And that was in 1989.
That's a long time.
Years before it was released on CD.
Wow.
I heard it years and years before, because I thought I had different names for them, because I was given a demo of what later became Fate. I think was the first album, and it wasn't released for many years. It wasn't released until the 90s, when the German sort of side really kicked in big time.
Yeah,
and they were signed to. I don't know the name of the label later.
Oh, here.
Just 1 second. The dogs. My wife's back, so the dogs have followed in 1 second. Hellhounds, the Nightbreed Hellhounds.
What do you want to plug? Anything you want people to go to?
Oh, I want to plug Chaos Bleak. Because obviously we've signed to Seventh Hell Recordings and all of that, and we've released a single called Death Train, which you played, and on the B side is our cover of Play Dead's Walk Away. But we're releasing a new album. We're working hard to get it. In fact, I just had a message from Justin whilst we were talking to say it's just another bass line for another track that's going to be on the album. The third album we're releasing, which is going to be called Assassins of Silence. We can plug that.
Awesome.
Oh, by the way, anybody come out and see us? Because even though come and see Chaos Bleak.
I'd say come to Australia, but
I'd love to.
Well, the thing is, bands go to America now
I'd
because
love
of the tariffs. They're being tariff banned.
Oh, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. Midnight Configuration and Death Party UK, we played just one show in America. We played in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And we kind of sneaked under the radar, because what a lot of people don't realise is even before the tariffs, it was really hard for an underground band to play in America because of American protectionism. I mean, a lot of people don't know this. That actually, American bands can come over to the UK, play whatever they like, really, but it's not a reciprocal thing. And if you're not very careful, you can be caught at the airport and sent back to England. And we kind of got under the radar. we basically said we never mentioned anything to do with music whatsoever. We were coming. Yeah, but I was scared that we were going to see a flyer when we were playing in LA, but because we were also playing Mexico City as well, so we sadly weren't in America very long. It's one of my things is that when I was in Every New Dead Ghost, we split up in 1992. We had we were going to do a US tour with a band from New York called the Empire Hideous, a great band. But we kind of split up before that tour happened.
Oh,
never played the States. It's like a closed shop to us, apart from Midnight Configuration and Death Party. Just did the one show. Yeah. But yeah, it's impossible now to go to Europe as well, to be honest with you, because of the coming out of the EU and all of that. So we're confined to this island. This island of God.
Well, you could do a tour in Scotland and Ireland, maybe.
Yeah, we had some dates in Scotland.
Would it be worth it, or?
Yeah. We had some dates in Scotland. I guess you could do
Wales too. That's another.
Yeah, I mean,
country.
When I played in Every New Dead Ghost Midnight Configuration, we did really well in Scotland.
Oh, nice.
We did in Glasgow. There was a legendary night in Glasgow. I want you to imagine this, right? We played in this really sort of authentic rock pub, and we got paid a fee, so it was free to get in. And there was opening band 13 Candles, Midnight Configuration, and Suspiria.
Holy
Can you imagine that night?
Crap. What a lineup!
When Midnight Configuration played on, that was when we were at the peak of our fetish scene period with Lisa, if you know who she is, from the early midnight, and she went into the audience with a whip, and she whipped loads and loads of all these Glaswegian sort of rockers, and it was an amazing experience. It was like kind of we couldn't leave the stage. Neither band could leave the stage. Either band, sorry. 13 Candles went down brilliantly. We went down brilliantly, even more so because that. And then when Suspiria went on, it was just another world, because they brought their own dry ice machine with them and everything. So you can imagine this pub on Socky Hill Street in Glasgow. There was like smoke coming out the doors and everything else, and it was like kind of you hear Matt say, "No, I tell you that's fine," and all that kind of stuff,
I just love it, like in a movie or something. It's like the smoke.
He really is. I mean, looking back at the time, we just accepted it as normal, but there we were, like, kind of. We did a split tour of Scotland, which I think was about 3 dates. We did Edinburgh, Glasgow, and I think we might have done one more. It might have just been Edinburgh, Glasgow, as 13 Candles, Midnight Configuration, and Suspiria.
Awesome. That's
wow.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I want you to pick one more song for the outro, and I want to say thank you. You are a legend, and it's nice.
Thank you very much. It's been really great to talk to you guys. I've enjoyed it.
It's been so nice.
And then we've got Roulette.
Oh yeah, that's the bonus thing, though.
You know what? I'm going to let you guys pick whatever song you want to play. I'm not going to.
I'll tell you what. I'll just do the Roulette.
Yes, mate.
We'll spin the.
Okay, here we go. I've got to do the intro for this. Goth song Roulette. What song will we play? There, we'll use that each time. I'll add some reverb and stuff, make it fun. Right, okay, I have 5 compilations here. Gothic Sounds of Nightbreed, Gothic Sounds of Nightbreed Volume 2, Carnival of Souls, New Alternatives 4, and New Alternatives 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, that's amazing. I've got the same combination on my luggage.
Put the Jeopardy sound.
Now to plug it into the random number generator, which I have loaded. And let's see what we go. Spin, spin, spin. Spin, 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 spin. There we go. CD number 1. It is Gothic Sounds of Nightbreed, which we've played numerous tracks from, but we'll see what we come up with. And that's has 14 tracks. So what's the bet I get one that we've already played? In which case, we'll see what happens. Spin, spin, spin. We have track number 6. And track number 6, Every New Dead Ghost, Oblivious.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Okay, on that.
Yay, we got something good.
Yeah.
We didn't get one of the random industrial tracks that might have been somewhere.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Obvious. Not oblivious. Obvious. Obvious. I think it's obvious.
Obvious. I'm reading in the dark here with a torch.
Okay, of course. Yeah, it's different time zone. I keep forgetting that.
4:30 in the morning.
Get out, mate. Bloody hell.
Yeah, it is obvious. It is obvious.
Yeah,
it is
thank you.
obvious. Now I've gotten closer and tried to read it properly. But that's okay. Yep, we'll stick that into the final edit and
When I wake, I open my eyes. There's nothing unusual so far, but it all seems just a little too quiet. And then the light there in my eyes, it cuts into the room. A momentary lapse into obscurity, obscure.
here goes the outros.
Okay.
Thank you for coming, Trev, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's all right, mate. It's been a pleasure. I've got a nip off now because my wife's come home.
Yeah.
It's been amazing talking to you.
So hopefully that's been a good interview for you. And tell me when you've done it, you know, when it's going to go live and everything, and I'll
Absolutely.
check it out and share it on my various accounts. It's been a pleasure to talk to you guys. It's nice to talk about Goth in some depth.
Yeah, thank you.
And I can work really rigid for days talking about it.
I mean, I fucking approached you randomly when I was wankered, so thanks for that.
Oh, it's all right, mate.
Bye.
It's all good. It was a pleasure. All right, lads, I'm going to have to shoot now because I'm going to take leave now. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Keep me in the loop, and I'll hopefully speak to you again at some point. Dina, hopefully I'll see you out and about in Nottingham.
Ah, you will. Come to my event.
All right. Cheers then, you. See you later. Cheers, lads. Cheers, bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
In a bit.
Yeet.
Yes, bye. Now the song's done. Tell us about the turd bird, Meg.
That's really, because every point I'm about to bring up to you, you've bloody talked about it. So,
Wait, before you go with that, Dean.
Yeah.
Meg,
Yes.
turd bird.
Turd bird. Yeah, I found a little turd bird statue. God, where the hell was that? South Dakota? Yeah, South Dakota.
Was it actually a turd?
No, it wasn't a turd. It's just a little weird carving.
It just looks like a turd, and it's a bird.
Yeah.
Bird, 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 bird is a turd. Yes, a bird. Bird is a turd.
what?
Don't you know about the turd? Everybody knows that the bird is a turd.
You know, like in Cockney rhyming slang, it's called a Richard III. Small, but it also means a bird as well. So it's like a small brown Richard III. That's in Cockney rhyming slang, governor. You know.
Well, wasn't that fun? That's another one in the can. It's in the can. Due to the general nature of, well, we wanted to give Trev a good run, interruption free, so we decided to lay off the effects for this one. But we added a lot more music, so I guess if you want this format more, with more music, less effects, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. But because we care about our listeners, here are some effects for you to consider sprinkled throughout. And thank you for listening. And remember, there is more bonus footage to come. As well as this, we haven't forgotten about part 2 of the previous episode recorded late last year. It will be coming, but we deemed this important and it needed to come out first. Thank you, and we will hear from you soon, we hope.
Hardcore goth. I see you've played Knifey Spoony before.
Oh, yeah! The pretentious train is coming, kiddies! Listen to it scream! Fuck you, I'm drunk!
That's it. I'm gonna kick your ass. Then I'm gonna reenact kicking your ass.
I need some alcohol.
No way.
The hunger is never ending.
So spoopy.
Death and despair! Death and despair!
Get excited, because it's gonna get weird!
At this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen.
Yes. Shut the hell up.
Undead, undead, undead!
Yes! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin. This is serious.
The light.
You must suck my golf balls.
Oh, well,
There we go.
that was a different program that did that, but there we go. You can test 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Woo!
Whoa.
No problem. But then again, I've actually upgraded my network stuff as well.
We are mad as hell and we will not take it anymore.
And I will not take it anymore. I forgot what that's from.
That should be enough.
Stupid.